Are you sure you want to wake up to this?
Come on now, wake up.
I can't wait to wake up.
Wake up, idiot!
All right, boy, we got a lot to talk about today, don't we, fellas? My goodness, it's a Friday. It's a feel-good Friday. Then we got the rain out of the way and everything else. We're good to go. Andy Sweeney, Mark Dighton, Nathaniel Finch on 35 minutes of sleep, hanging out with you here on The Fan, 93.5, 107.5. The Fan, you can find us on the stream as well. We got the YouTube stream up, and we got HD radio. We got the sticks. We got everything as we sit here for the next 3 hours. And boy, what a morning. I don't know if you were listening by any chance to ESPN on the way in. Jeff Darlington of ESPN, who is there, I guess, following the PGA, as ESPN is obviously the main anchor there for the PGA, reporting that world number one golfer Scottie Scheffler has been detained by police in handcuffs over a misunderstanding with traffic flow. So, Mark Dighton, good morning. You walked in, you go, well, I guess we got to talk about this. I'm like, yeah, I guess we do have to mention it right off the top. Good morning to you, sir. How's everything going?
Good morning. So, yeah, apparently there is a accident with a fatality outside of Valhalla, like right by the entranceway. Scottie Scheffler attempted to go around the traffic because he has to tee off and he has a tee time and stuff.
He was supposed to tee off around 8:45, right? Something like that.
And I guess the police saw someone, they didn't know Scottie Scheffler, trying to skirt the traffic flow stoppage, and they stopped him. They yelled at him. Apparently, they pulled him out of his car, and then they put him in handcuffs and they detained him.
Yeah, so Jeff Darlington of ESPN, again, who is a national NFL reporter, is there on the scene. I used to live in Louisville. People know, I moved up, 8-9 months ago. That area by Valhalla is probably a 6-lane road plus turning lane. So you're looking at a 7-8-lane road, which is very busy anyway, combined with all the Valhalla traffic for the PGA. That is an amazingly busy area. And I know people right now, Mark, that are actually on the media shuttle that have been sitting in traffic since 5:45, and it's now 7:02. So the PGA is supposed to have some sort of an announcement because the second round has been delayed, and I don't know how long, but I would imagine it's going to be over an hour. So again, if you were listening to ESPN Radio before us, you probably heard some of that. They broke in about 20 minutes ago when this became news. I got here, I'm dialing up the iPad, getting ready for the show and everything else, and I see Jeff Darlington, and the first thing you got to do when you see it, you got to check and make sure it's a real Jeff Darlington, not a fake account, not an Adarn Schefter instead of Adam Schefter.
Not a Darlington with the one instead of an L.
Exactly. So that's the first thing I did. And when I saw, okay, he's got 286,000 followers, I figured this is the guy. So I guess we'll keep you abreast of that situation. Boy, I kind of love to know what KB thinks of that, but unfortunately it's 4 a.m. where he's at. So Kevin Bowen is off to Vegas. Hopefully he's having a great time by the pool. I don't know what he's going to do in Vegas. KB doesn't come across as a sinful young man with Vegas, does he?
No, I don't think he's going to be drinking any 100-ounce beers or going to the Bunny Ranch or anything like that.
Yeah, I don't think he'll be going to the Bunny Ranch. So
I think he'll be on his best behavior. Maddie's with him, so she'll keep him in line.
So he'll be good. We got you for the next 3 hours here on The Fan. Obviously, tons to talk about. Dustin DePierac from the Indianapolis Star. He'll join us coming up at 8:30 today. We'll get you ready for Pacers-Knicks Game 6 tonight. It's just going to be an absolute, this is one of those days where I wish I were JMV, and you wonder why. He's going to be down there downtown, and it's going to be an absolute loony bin downtown getting ready for Game 6 tonight. We'll have coverage here on The Fan beginning at 8 o'clock. And then coming up at 9 o'clock, Jake Query, I saw him yesterday. Jake, Jimmy, Brendan King, Kurt Darling was out there. I saw the whole crew yesterday. I went up to IMS practice yesterday, Mark.
How was that?
Time. That's a good time.
Did you get the lay of the land a little bit?
I got the lay of the land a little bit. I parked off the 30th Street exit.
Okay,
I parked over there and did a mini shuttle. I could have walked. I'm a young man, but I decided I'm lazy enough that I'm going to hop on this shuttle.
They will bring you where you need to go. Otherwise, you're just going to wander aimlessly.
Yeah, right up to the front door, and had a good time out there for a couple hours. Obviously, a week from today, Carb Day, and we will be out there, and I could not be more excited as who's got it better than us. We got big Game 6 tonight. Hopefully the Pacers can extend that and get to a Game 7. And then, we're 9 days away now, qualifying this weekend. I hope to be out there again on Sunday. I'm telling everyone, I'm going to be at, some autograph booth or something that you need to come see me. But I hope to be out there on Sunday. And then, obviously, next week, the festivities will get going even more. And so, a lot of fun yesterday. I know Jake and Jimmy will be out there again today, I believe. Doing a great job. IBC will be out there. So we got you covered. Home of the Indy 500 right here on The Fan.
Hopefully some action on the track, too. Again, it's supposed to be rainy again.
Yeah, I know.
This has got to be one of the rainiest Indy 500 practice weeks I've ever seen. So it'll be interesting to see if they actually have some cars on the track.
It depends on what app.
And it's foggy as hell, too.
Well, it
outside.
is. It depends on what app you look at. Like the app I have right now is, it's going to be high 60s into low 70s, getting only up to 73, 74 with cloud coverage. And if you're going to go out there today, that seems like that seems like the perfect weather. 73 degrees and not sun beating down on you. I don't know. So it's a fast Friday. We'll get you an update on that on our morning checkdowns. But I did see the first crash. I did see that.
Really?
Live and in person, basically.
How was
that? So that was, I won't say it was fun. It wasn't. It was dangerous, but
right.
It was fast. I guess I'll say that. So we'll talk with Jake coming up in a little bit on that. For me, and I want to start here. There's several things. I have a little bit of Colts. Today's going to be a lot of Pacers as we get ready for Game 6. But I'll say this. A couple things right off the top here. I am interested in tonight for a myriad of reasons. The Pacers have played supreme basketball at home for the last 2 months.
Yep.
We've talked about that. Since, the last loss was that Monday, that selection Monday where we came
mid-March.
in. Yeah, where we came in and we said, hey, this is, Purdue. This is how they're going to get to the Final Four. And by the way, lo and behold, they did get to the Final Four. And we all made our predictions. Remember our prediction that Will Wade's team was going to upset Kansas? Remember that? We all did that. And we went through the bracket and deal like the East, deal like the Midwest, whatever.
We were kids back then.
We were just kids back then. It's a great way to put it. And, they have been great at home. And at some point in this series, does something have to give? Now, it doesn't. The Knicks can lose this game, and they can go home, and they can win Game 7, and it will basically be the status quo, that the Knicks played great at home and that the Pacers played great at home as well. But off the top, what I think tonight, okay, and again, when it comes to Sports Radio Gas Bag giving their predictions, it doesn't mean anything. But what I do think happens tonight is I think we get a great game.
I hope so.
I think the Pacers show up. I think the Pacers have to be embarrassed. Nathaniel, you cut the sound in the wee hours of the morning. Rick Carlisle, not happy. And we've seen that a couple times in the playoffs. And Mark, from us interviewing Rick Carlisle all season on these Tuesdays, when Ricky C can be in a bad mood. And we've seen that a couple times in this playoff series. We've seen it a couple times in the playoffs if you mix in the Milwaukee series as well. I think the Pacers play well tonight. I think the Knicks as well are going to throw everything at them. I don't believe, and I could be wrong. If I were always right on my predictions, we'd be doing the show in Belize. We always make that joke here. Okay, we'd be winning a lot on the gambling funds.
We'd be calling you from Vegas in your luxury suite. Andy Sweeney, what are your plays of the weekend?
Mark Dykton's DraftKings account would look a lot different as would mine.
Wouldn't say deposit.
Well, by the way, I noticed you haven't been talking about that as much. You weren't a heater, I kind of feel like, for like a month.
Well, I'm still waiting for my Justin Fields to the Steelers play to pay off, but he has to play one snap
he has
first.
To play. So even in the preseason or regular season?
Regular season.
So you got to wait till September.
Yeah.
So mid-September, you'll get whatever monetary funds you laid on that. Well, good for you. But I think both teams play well tonight. I think we see a game that is reminiscent. Can I say that word? Reminiscent? Say that word for me. Did I say that right?
Reminiscent.
Of Game 3 and not Game 4. I expect the Pacers to hit shots. I expect the Pacers to show more effort. I expect the Pacers to be all over the place. I expect them to be dialed in early. I do not expect, because we have seen them rebound the basketball better than the Knicks in Game 3 and Game 4. Now, Game 4 is a little weird because they lost, I believe, the offensive rebounding battle, but they made every shot. The Knicks missed every shot, hence more chances to offensive rebounds. But you can't have 29 more additional shots. You can't have the extra possessions, and that's where it is tonight. And so while I'm probably leaning that the Knicks can close this one out, good God. I mean, the Pacers have it sitting there for them. And then just on top of that.
Which is what we said about Game 5, too.
Exactly. And then just on top of that, this season, and this is important to remember, and I know, like, JMV would get very angry at me if he heard this, okay? I don't know if he's up this early. I don't know if he just stays up. I know he doesn't sleep. He stays up all night, so he might hear this. His thing has been, I'm about the here and now, right? I'm about the go get me wins. He was like that with the Colts. Hey, go make the playoffs. With the Pacers, hey, you have a golden opportunity here to be in the Eastern Conference Finals, okay? But this season is for a young team and even a young superstar like Tyrese Halliburton. We'll get to Halliburton at about 7:30 this morning. It's about experience. It's about getting valuable experience. And Mark, there is no more valuable experience than a Game 7 and a Game 7 in the Garden. There's just not. And that needs to be the objective tonight for the Pacers, to lock in, to not get, listen, if you get beat and Jalen Brunson and Dante DiVincenzo is hitting deep threes and Josh Hart is making plays that, quite frankly, in his career, he hasn't made, then I don't want to say so be it, but you can't go down like you went down last game. You can't go down being meek. You can't go down with us questioning hustle, questioning effort.
You can have Hartenstein flying in and getting every rebound in sight.
Questioning aggressiveness, and and you're even more right there. You can't go down with a guy like Hartenstein dominating the first half, dominating especially the first quarter, where he had, 5-6 offensive rebounds, leading to extra shots, leading to extra possessions, keeping your offense, quite frankly, off the floor. We say that in the NFL all the time, keeping the offense, Anthony Richardson, off the field, keeping the offense of Tyrese Halliburton and company off the floor. You got to go down swinging. It can't be a disappearing act from Tyrese Halliburton. It can't be a disappearing act from Pascal Siakam. Those are the things that I want to see tonight. I can't see the things that I saw the night before. If you go down swinging, it's different than if you go down meek and lowly that we saw the other night. And by the way, I expect the Pacers to not look like that. I expect the Pacers to come out, to be dialed in, and I expect us to get a game in the final couple minutes. Again, save all this for Monday if I'm totally wrong, okay? Or the weekend. Save all of this audio, because that's what I expect. I expect both teams. The Knicks know we got to lock this series up. We got to get out of town. We got to get at least a little bit of rest before Tuesday. Tuesday starts the Eastern Conference Finals. Whether we go to a Game 7 or it ends tonight in Cambridge, it's going to be Tuesday night. Celtics are going to be hosting somebody. You know the Knicks want to end this thing. They're going to throw the house at the Pacers, and it's up for the Pacers to play like they have for the last 2 months at home and to go out there and get the win. Do you have a hunch on tonight? Because that's my hunch. Without just saying, hey, the Knicks are going to win, the Pacers are going to win, I think we have one of those games which the nation, quite frankly, standalone game tonight, Friday, 8:30. Again, our coverage here on The Fan at 8 o'clock. That's the type of game I expect tonight in Cambridge.
Well, I think Rick Carlisle is hoping to light a fire under some asses after that explicit-filled rant that he did yesterday afternoon in his press session. So I think he's trying to light a fire like, hey, Tyrese, you need to start taking more shots. We need to start knocking down some. We need to start doing some damn defending every once in a while. That would be nice. I expect Tyrese Halliburton to come out, and he better have double-digit shots in the first half. Otherwise, they're going to be in some. If he's showing up meek and mild again, like he did in Game 5, we're going to be in some trouble. I expect him to show out and start having some double-digit shots. I think the crowd, the energy that's in that building tonight will help the team a lot. But you're right. I expect the Knicks to come out trying to step on the throats of the Pacers, trying to take the crowd out of it as early as possible. So I expect Jalen Brunson to take plenty of shots early, try to get some dagger threes early, and it's going to be a fight. The first 15 minutes are going to be critical in this game today as to which way it goes.
You know what's crazy about it as well? To me, this game tonight, and it may be different if it goes to Game 7, and there may be people who disagree with this. This game tonight, because the Knicks put Deuce McBride, and they put him in the game, and he played 40 minutes, and he had, 17 points, I think it was, last game, Mark, and they kind of, the things that they changed, they said, hey, we're going to set one screen and sometimes two screens really high, almost mid-court, okay? And then we're going to put a shooter in instead of Precious Achiuwa, who's a bum. And that's basically what the Knicks said. That was, and KB and I talked about this. That's the only move they had because they don't have a roster. So it's not like the Knicks can make a litany of moves. Rick Carlisle's going to be playing 9 guys.
Yeah.
He's going to be playing 8, 9 guys on a consistent basis. So you would think there would be more moves. This game tonight, make no mistake about it. Yeah, I could end up being wrong. It's about the Pacers.
It better be.
I view this game about the Pacers. The Knicks last game made their move, okay? They put McBride in the game. They said, we're going to give Jalen Brunson some room. They said, we're going to make Tyrese Halliburton have to guard somebody, okay? So now it's up to the Pacers to read and react to that, but it's also up to the Pacers, like we mentioned in the previous 10 minutes, to do all of the things that they did not do. And ultimately, if it comes down to the final couple minutes, Jalen Brunson makes 4 or 5 big shots, Dante DiVincenzo hits a 3 and starts getting at the crowd, we shall see if that happens.
If we're
quickly.
5 minutes in and Rick Carlisle's calling timeouts.
Well, you don't want that.
That's
Again,
not looking good.
I expect the Pacers to start out well tonight. I do. Quickly last night, and I got to be careful here. The Fever embarrassed themselves last night.
That was really bad.
It was an atmosphere. It was a sellout. It was a great atmosphere. And, this is, they got beat 102-66, Mark.
Yeah. 36-point loss.
They had 10 points in the fourth quarter.
17,000 fans in attendance.
And Caitlin Clark.
Celebrities galore. McAfee was there. Rick Carlisle was there.
Oh, was he? I didn't see Ricky. I saw
think the
Miles
mayor
Turner.
was there.
The mayor was there?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, the mayor there? Does he have time to do
Herb
anything?
Simon was there.
Herb Simon was there. Does the mayor have time for this?
Apparently
Is he trying
so.
to get a soccer stadium? What's going on with the mayor these days?
I don't know. But yeah, it was it was a disappointment to say the least. You do have to remember that the Fever had the number 1 overall pick for a reason.
Well,
they got Caitlin Clark for a reason because they weren't very good last year, and they weren't very good the year before when they got Aaliyah Boston either. There's a lot of kinks that need to be worked out on this team. Caitlin Clark is throwing passes and her teammates aren't catching it. She did not have a very good night. Only 3 turnovers, but still 9.7 rebounds, 6 assists, and only 1 for 7 from three-point range. It is an adjustment period for the Fever, but it was not very pretty yesterday.
Yeah, I got to be honest. Here's where I was wrong. I thought Caitlin Clark would adjust at a quicker rate to the WNBA game, and this is coming from a guy that doesn't watch a lot of WNBA. I still thought that I really did. I still thought she would be able to hit that 3, right? When it's either in transition or she does that step back where she can create space. She did it at Iowa, and she's getting space. Maybe not as much, but she's getting space in the WNBA. But the Fever were embarrassed last night in front of what is going to be one of the best crowds for a WNBA game for anybody all season long. And now the next 2 games, they play the teams they just played. They play the Liberty, who are obviously one of the top teams in the league, and then they play Connecticut again. There's a real chance here that the Fever start out 0-4. That is sitting there staring them in the face that they start out 0-4.
Yeah,
so
it'll be an adjustment period. It's a growing period. You're getting to learn teammates. Caitlin Clark's coming off a college basketball season she just played a month ago.
It's not the end of the world.
No.
It's not that Caitlin Clark's a bust. It's none. I want to be clear. It's
none
of
of
those.
that.
None of those things. But early on, she and they have been the story of this season. Okay, let's make no mistake about it. And they're 0-2. And they
haven't been very close in either game.
And they haven't been close. You haven't felt like in either game that they were ever going to win these games.
I mean, even watching that first quarter yesterday, I mean, it wasn't like New York was knocking down shot after shot. It was kind of like it was there. It was just the Fever couldn't
make a shot.
Make anything.
No, they
couldn't make anything for minutes at a time. You're like, come on.
Clark made that first early shot, and they went how many minutes after that
It
without
felt like
scoring?
7.
Yeah, I mean it did. It felt like it went about 3-4 minutes or so. So we got you all that into the weekend. We'll get you some Indy 500 updates. Like I said, Jake Query will join us coming up in the 9 o'clock hour. Dustin DePirac will join us coming up at 8:30. On the other side, our morning check down. What did Rick Carlisle say yesterday? What did Tyrese Halliburton say yesterday? We have all of that, and we got you all the way until 10 o'clock. He's Mark Dykton. I'm Andy Sweeney. We're hanging out with you. It's a feel-good Friday here, 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
This is May. It's Indy.
about 5 a.m., a pedestrian was struck and killed, okay? He or she, and I do not know, was hit by one of the buses, I believe, that was shuttling people. This could have even been workers that early in the morning. Fans don't get out there until a little bit later. I'm not exactly sure when the course actually opened because plague is underway. 7, 8 o'clock, these guys are out and playing. And so, the situation here, someone loses their life, and, that has shut down just about everything. Scotty Scheffler at about 6:30, about 2 hours ahead of his tee time. He was going to tee off about 8:40, 8:45 or so this morning. Even though, again, he's close to the leaderboard, it doesn't matter. They set those times on Thursday and Friday, and they'll rearrange them according to your score on the weekend on Saturday and Sunday. So Scheffler was going to turn into Valhalla, and I guess that was against the orders of police. Now, he does have a pass, and he is in a PGA-issued car. All of this are important facts to kind of throw out there. They tried to stop him. He then stopped on the entrance into Valhalla. It's a big gate. If you think of a big gate.
Every country club.
Yeah, think of a gated community country club. There's a big gate there. So I believe he's turning left into that, if I'm not mistaken. He stopped. When he got out of the car, he was immediately pushed against his car. This was witnessed by many people, including, again, Jeff Darlington of ESPN, who has been all over this story for the last hour or so.
Yeah, there's video now out, too.
He was handcuffed. If you go on Twitter X, there's video everywhere. Now, I'm not sure who followed him.
It was Jeff Darlington. He has a follow-up where it says, he was just on SportsCenter, I guess. And Jeff Darlington, who's on the scene, reports an officer said, quote, "There's nothing you can do. He's going to jail."
Okay.
Can you tell me the name of the person we just arrested?
Okay, so the I can't believe this. The second round
is unbelievable. Your stopping grounds,
well,
Andy.
It's so Louisville. The whole thing is so Louisville. The second round has been delayed by at least an hour. And then Scotty Scheffler, if he is going to jail, he's not going to be playing in the PGA Championship. So one of the more absurd, ridiculous, obviously sad things was someone losing their life this morning around 5 a.m. But the drama now that is following, will keep you updated. But as Mark said, that is very much a quote that Darlington has put out there, quote, from the police officer, "There's nothing you can do. He's going to jail." So, I tell you, it's one of those things where I'm usually ready for just about anything. I would not have had that on the bingo card this morning, whether at the PGA or obviously something happening in Indy here. So we'll keep you updated on that. Now, as for yesterday, let's dive into it. It's Pacers.
Well, we do have a follow-up again for the Scheffler thing. We got something.
No, go ahead, please.
It said, Darlington also said that Scheffler and Darlington are right near each other, and he said the situation of putting him in handcuffs moved very quickly, very rapidly, and very aggressively. And then Scheffler saw Darlington, who was trying to enter the property as well, and said, "Please help me."
Well, I'm not surprised. He looks at Darlington. I'm sure Darlington has interviewed him multiple times, has interviewed him this week.
My goodness.
In Valhalla. So,
my goodness.
Again, this is going to be a story that is going to be continually updated. So we're mixing in Pacer talk and Fever talk and Colts talk and everything else. We'll try to get you some of that. Now, as for yesterday, Rick Carlisle did talk with the media. He had a couple F-bombs, rebounding, such a big deal, emanating from Game 5. Here's Carlisle yesterday, still unhappy, I guess you could say, with the rebounding.
The sweet spot is go rebound the ball and, not take it out of the net, and things will be a lot different.
I love that for Rick Carlisle.
That's a good strategy, I'd say.
I do like when he gets angry and drops F-bombs because you know what? He feels like the rest of us. Carlisle saying, you know what we need to do? Go rebound the effing ball. How many Pacer fans were watching that game? On what day was it even? What day was it? What, Tuesday? Tuesday saying, go rebound the effing ball. I would imagine a lot of them.
Shoot an effing shot or
just make a shot. Tyrese Halliburton yesterday meeting with the media as well. The key to get the win tonight.
We all got to be a lot better. I think it's not necessarily a size thing. I think it's just finishing possessions. I think they shot, 29 more shots than us, 30 more shots. impossible to win a game when a team's doing that and you're turning the ball over. So those are the two main parts. I would love to get into the X's and O's of what we can do better offensively, what we can do better defensively. Those two things are just, I think, like attention to detail. Finishing possessions. It's no secret they're an elite offensive rebounding team, but we got to match that level of intensity for 48 minutes and take care of the ball, which we've done for the whole postseason. So, I have no worries that we'll do that tomorrow.
It is Pacers-Knicks tonight at 8:30 on ESPN.
Don't allow Hartenstein to get a baker's dozen of rebounds.
Yeah, don't let him have
that?
a triple-double. We could start there. The game tonight, 8:30 on ESPN. Our coverage here on The Fan at 8 o'clock.
Caitlin Clark's home debut with the Fever last night. Not a pretty sight. The Fever were roasted, 102-66 by the New York Liberty. Caitlin Clark, 9 points, 6 assists, and 7 rebounds. Only 3 turnovers, but still over 30 minutes of play. She was 1 of 7 from three-point range. It was ugly all around because she was throwing passes that her teammates couldn't hold on to. I feel like Aaliyah Boston missed a bunch of shots that she couldn't handle. Brianna Stewart, 31 points, 10 rebounds. She was dominant. Sabrina Ionescu looked really good, too. 14 points there.
Yeah, she's good.
So now the Fever are 0-2 to start the season. They hit the road on Sunday when they face, who else? The New York Liberty on the road. So that'll be their next game, New York.
By the way, just something else. Hang on. Just something else coming from the PGA. Play will resume at 8:35. I don't know if, are you seeing
somebody
that?
Posting Scotty Scheffler's bail then?
8:35, and I'm looking at the little TV that's to the right of Nathaniel Finch, the only TV we have in here. And, I mean, my God, the traffic, look at that, Nathaniel. It's lined up for miles to get in there to the PGA. So who knows how many people will be in attendance, and who knows about Scotty Scheffler. Again, 8:35, play is going to resume. So I would imagine if you're an hour and change behind, for Scotty Scheffler, you're now supposed to tee off. Probably, closer to 10 o'clock now. So we'll see what happens there.
We do have at least one Game 7 in the NBA, by the way. The Minnesota Timberwolves held their ground and beat the Denver Nuggets, just destroyed them. Minnesota Timberwolves 115 to the Denver Nuggets 70. Looked very good last night. Anthony Edwards, 27 points right there. Jaden McDaniels, 21 points. So we have a Game 7 on Sunday.
I mean,
we have at least one.
How did that happen? How does that score happen?
I mean, it was just it was one of those things where the Timberwolves were up so much that they just pulled everybody.
They scored 9 points in the fourth quarter. How does someone score 70 points? I mean, that's 1994 basketball.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We've talked a lot about Reggie Miller and the Knicks. I mean, you go watch some of those games, you might have 70 points in the fourth quarter. The Nuggets scored 70 points after being dominant. What it does set up, if the Pacers were to win tonight, it sets up a situation, Thunder Mavs, Game 6 on Saturday, Pacers-Knicks Game 7 on Sunday, along with Nuggets T-Wolves Game 7, and then if it's necessary, Thunder Mavs could play Game 7 on Monday night. I mean, it sets up the next 3 days.
Be a tasty Sunday, I would say.
Of big-time basketball. Quickly, Major League Baseball. Your Cubbies lost 5-4.
Yeah.
Some of the Reds went on the crappy Reds somehow went on the road and beat the Dodgers, a game that I saw none of because it was late, 7-2.
I think it first pitch was like 10-10 ER time.
Yeah, but how does that happen?
I don't know.
What's more surprising? The Nuggets score 70 points in an elimination game with the 3-time MVP and the team that they have, defending champion, or the fact the Reds go on the road, score 7 runs, and win and actually beat the Dodgers.
The Dodgers or the Cubs, the Reds are going to fall into some wins. I'd say the 70 by the Nuggets is surprising. Paul Skeens, by the way, on the mound for the Pirates today. So apparently he can only start when he plays the Cubs. So that'll be Paul Skeens on the bump for the Pirates.
I hate
today.
to do this on the fly. Does Nathaniel know about our sounder that we're supposed to hit? For the Fast Times and the Indy 500 yesterday. Oh, he's got it. Go ahead and hit it. Let's go.
The fastest time of the day, brought to you by Reese Nichols Jewelers.
That goes. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was going to say. So, are you a toe speed guy or a non-toe speed guy when it comes to the fastest time?
I can go either way.
You can go either way.
Yeah.
Well, Pato O'Ward had the fastest speed out there yesterday at 228.861. Colton Herta 224.182. But that's not the big news coming from the track yesterday. Do you want to know the big news?
You found your parking spot? Where you're gonna go?
Well, I mean, I found a parking spot in the
You
field
found
with
out who stole the cookies?
in the field with everybody else.
I heard Jake Query was ranting that someone took cookies. They were going to drink cookies and milk on the air, and someone took the cookies. From
I did not take the
media press
cookies.
room. I was like, Andy Sweeney might have been in there.
It was not me. Although I am going to have to stand up for myself. You know what I saw yesterday? I saw Kurt Darling out there, a great reporter, news reporter over at IBC. And he goes, "Hey, Sweeney," he goes, and I knew him. He actually worked in Louisville for a little while. He goes, "Heard you're going to go pretty hard in the paint
Oh, jeez.
on Carb Day." I'm like, is this not what
That
I'm
thing is
known
caught
for?
wildfire.
It has, so I'm going to have to defend myself. But I have picked my drivers that I will be backing going forward in the Indianapolis 500, and I will tell you who that is next week. I'm sure people really, really care about that. So
I can't wait.
There's your morning check down. On the other side, we got to dive back into the Pacers. It's about experience. That's why tonight's such a big deal. And a thought on Tyrese Halliburton. We'll do it next. We're hanging out with you until 10 o'clock here, 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
Qualifications for the Indianapolis
The Fan.
All right, back at it on this Friday. Andy Sweeney with you. Mark Dighton hanging out. Nathaniel Finch has had a long night working overnights and now producing today's effort. We got you.
God bless you,
here
sir.
on the wake. You know what? Puts hair on your chest. It makes you a radio man. We do stupid stuff in radio, don't we? I'm sure all three of us have worked ridiculous shifts. Mark, I know you have. And I know
like 16 hours straight one time.
I know Nathaniel literally is doing that right now. So we appreciate him. Obviously, the big story today. It's here. It's the Pacers. We know that, but it's also down the road in Louisville. The PGA Championship backed up 80 minutes. There was a spectator. I don't know. There was an individual that was struck by a bus around 5 a.m. And then if you're waking up with us, the news this morning, and Jeff Darlington of ESPN has been all over it, that Scotty Scheffler has been detained by police. As he tried to turn into Valhalla. Everything around there has been closed because of this accident that happened a little after 5 a.m. in the dark, 5 a.m. in the dark.
I don't know how well lit it is in that area either. So
I mean, it's just street lights. I mean, that's it again. So it's pretty dark. He tried to turn into Valhalla. The police, I guess this is all alleged, told him to stop. He did stop, but after a little while, as he was on the entrance to Valhalla, they cuffed him immediately, aggressively, and walked him to the back of a police car. And they did tell Jeff Darlington of ESPN that he was going to jail. So I think the next part of this story is what's going on with Scotty Scheffler. It's not, hey, we're backing PGA tee times up or back 80 minutes. We know that that's a story. Again, 80 minutes or so. But the story is Scotty Scheffler, who's the best golfer in the world. And right now, Mark, it really ain't that close.
No.
And what happens with him, the video is out there. If you go on Twitter, you'll see all of that. So we'll dive into that. And again, I told Nathaniel, hey, if you see anything on that TV over there that is breaking that we need to, just go ahead and flag us down. And I know, Mark, you're on Twitter and everything like that. I wanted just to get back to, and man, I tell you, I'm hoping the Pacers win tonight. And I'm hoping the Pacers win tonight because you get to Game 7 and it's corny. I want to be clear. This is corny analysis, but it's true. Anything can happen on a Game 7. Plus, you really put the pressure back on the Knicks.
Yeah.
And then on top of it, do I think fatigue in a Game 7 would come into play? I don't know. I tend to think that you're so jacked up that the quick turnaround really wouldn't be that much of a factor. And I'm saying that knowing that part of the story would be that there's a quick turnaround. It's not even a 48-hour turnaround. Again, the game tonight's going to end what time? It starts at 8:30. I mean, so it's going to be over 10:30, 11 o'clock.
Probably,
if you're the Knicks, you're not back in New York City to 3 a.m., 4 a.m., whatever it may be. And then you got to turn around on Sunday. That game's at 3:30. I think 3:30 is the schedule on Sunday. And so, again, others may disagree, but that is a storyline, and you get into the situation, all it takes, Miles Turner's on fire. Halliburton, we've been talking so much, and I want to talk about it here, of the road splits. He gets, he's on fire. Neesmith knocks down a couple shots. TJ McConnell has that type of game, and you put the pressure, if you win tonight, squarely on the Knicks. There's two things that I wanted to talk about here. Number one, and I mentioned this in the 7 o'clock hour mark, that, JMV would scold me saying this. There is a part of me that is very much invested in what the Pacers are doing because of the opportunity that they have. And KB's talked a lot about this, and he's right. The opportunity that you have is you played the Bucks without Giannis. You played the Bucks in games without Damian Lillard, and even in a game he was, the final game, he was compromised. Right. You could tell he wasn't 100%. And if you even want to throw this in there, you had the Bobby Portis suspension in a game, in a big game, and Chris Middleton. Now, Chris Middleton has been injured for years. For the last couple years, he has been an injured player, and he's had serious injuries. But while he had some great games, he was also hobbled in the series. And then you go play the Knicks, and the Knicks are this group of good players who have played above their the back of the baseball card, and Jalen Brunson, who is turning into, obviously, one of the great players in the league and one of the stars in the NBA. And we understand MSG can be crazy and everything like that. But this season for the Pacers is about experience. And there is a part of this that we understand they could be ahead of schedule. We understand that there is still some building to do, but the early returns on that building seem to be pretty damn good. And there's no better experience than this series, than tonight in a Game 6, and then if you can push a Game 7 in MSG. When we talk about building a team and getting experience and a team, remember how badly they play, how poorly they played in that Bucks series at Game 1, that first half, to where they could be Game 6, hopefully pushing for a Game 7 against the Knicks. And so I find that to be, even though we need to live in the moment to remember that in the maturation, in the steps of this team, in the rungs of the ladder as this team builds, how vital these experiences are.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why I think Benedict Mathurin being out really sucks.
It's a bummer.
Because I think he would be a key in this whole series right now, this whole playoff run. He's not getting any experience. He seems like the kind of guy that would have embraced having the pressure on his shoulders. He would take the tough shots. He'd be matching up with guys that he probably wouldn't normally match up with in the regular season. I think he'd be fine with all of it. So the fact that Benedict Mathurin is not healthy and can't be in any of these playoff series and get that experience and help this team really sucks, because I think he would be a difference maker.
Well, and even think about this. Again, JMV, I'm sorry you would hate this, is, this team going forward is going to be predicated even more on Benedict Mathurin and Jarris Walker. One reason that you can give up, and this is an off-season topic, one reason you can give up multiple first-round draft picks is because you feel like you redshirted, the 7th overall pick in the draft in Jarris Walker. Not many people redshirt.
Right.
Purdue basketball, Virginia basketball, and college basketball redshirt, and there ain't many others.
No.
And you don't see it a lot in the NBA. So I want to throw that out there. The other thing, and I can hear Mark, our bosses, they always tell us you can have an opinion, but give us the why behind it.
Mm-hmm.
With Tyrese Halliburton, I don't know the why, and it's driving me insane. And this might be a Rick Carlisle thing that eventually, if you could get some truth serum in him, he may tell you, or Tyrese Halliburton. And the why, and what I'm referring to is why he hasn't been better on the road.
Yeah.
And we talked about this yesterday. I mean, this is, KB mentioned this, and he's right. I went and looked up some of the numbers. Him being ineffective on the road, scoring, assists, free throw, field goal percentage, the flow of the game. When we talk about aggressiveness of Tyrese Halliburton, to me, it's not about, and he even talked about this yesterday, it's not about him scoring 35 points. It's about him being the maestro that is controlling the game to where you feel like he is the pace of the game. He has created the pace, and the pace is working in his advantage. He's finding guys who are making shots. He's playing better defense than he did in Game 5, where he played very little defense. And, of course, it's him making some shots and pointing to the crowd and getting everyone jacked up. If you look at the regular season, Mark, just look at the regular season. On the road games, he had 33 road games. He played in 33 road games, 36 home games. Okay, so it's a pretty even sample size, right? That's an even sample size. He averaged more points on the road. He averaged more rebounds on the road. He averaged the same assists, almost 11. He shot a better three-point percentage on the road. He averaged more three-point makes on the road. He shot about 1% better field goal percentage on the road. He played an extra minute or two on the road. The reason I'm bringing this up is in the regular season,
he showed up.
This wasn't a storyline.
Right. There was no issue.
And so this has become...
He was playing like a max player.
This has become a storyline in the postseason.
Right, because he's just wilted. He's disappeared.
And you could say, well, yeah, he said, we've used the Vanishing Act.
Right.
And, we've said for so long, what's the why behind it? And I just got to believe that it can't be the crowd. It can't be the Bucks crowd, or it can't be the Garden crowd. And I say that because I just feel like a player of his stature, usually there are games where they come alive and we mentioned Reggie Miller in this area. Reggie Miller going on the road in the Garden. I mean, he very much made his persona by being able to go into places like New York and to have success.
He's very willing to be the antagonist to the crowd.
And that's the mystery, that if they do go to Game 7 and the same thing happens, I don't know the why. And it's driving me insane on the why, because in the regular season, you didn't see that, and it makes no sense. And they're going to need him tonight to be great at home, where he has been good, to push that along. But that's the thing in this series. And listen, we'll get into Siakam as we go. He needs to be better. We know. Right now he's on a max level player. He hasn't played like it this playoff series. But what is the why behind Tyrese Halliburton better on the road in the regular season and having these vanishing acts on the road in the postseason? I do not know.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Sorry. I was going to say, yeah, we can dive into more of that. We can actually dive into some Colts schedule talk.
Well, I got a question for you.
Some thoughts on that?
Yeah. I want to get to the Texans, why I love the Texans, and then every year 4 teams don't make the playoffs that made it the year before. Who do we think those 4 are going to be? And then we'll dive into the why with Halliburton, a little Siakam as well. Dustin DePirak joining us in a half an hour. It's a wake-up call here on The Fan on this Friday.
Be your best self in the place where you
What do you think? What do you think Bowen's gonna do out there in Vegas? Honestly, you know him better than I do.
He's probably up now, even though it's like 5 in the morning. He's looking at the Scotty Scheffler news.
He better not be. You think he is? He can't be awake. It's 5 a.m. out there.
He's a degenerate when it comes to golf. He's an absolute degenerate.
Well, he needs to wake up. That is my curse. It's one reason why I can do morning radio is I don't sleep in. I wish I could sleep in. Nathaniel, can you? Mark, can you? Like, could you guys sleep in till like 11 a.m.?
Oh, yeah. I don't think 11 a.m. these days, but like 9 a.m. is.
You could get to 9 a.m.
Yeah,
if I said kids were going to leave you alone, I guess.
If the girls actually slept in, yeah, you can give me 9 a.m. and that'd be
okay.
fine.
Yeah.
As long as I can get a nap at some point in the day, if I can get all 3 of them down for a nap, then I'm ready to go.
That's my biggest problem. If I were KB, I'd probably wake up at, maybe in the 6 o'clock hour or something like that. And you know what I would do? You grab the, if you're in Vegas, you got to have smokes, right? You grab the pack of smokes and you go down to the sports book at 7 a.m. and you watch the PGA, don't you? And that's when
Black and Milds and
Bowen
watching the
finds
PGA.
out. Andy Sweetie, Mark Dykton, Nathaniel Finch hanging out with you on this Friday. We got you to 10 o'clock. Reminder, Dustin DePirac will join us coming up at 8 o'clock. We'll talk with him. And then Jake Query, who he'll be down there again today. We'll talk with him coming up at 9 o'clock.
He's basically been a weatherman out there. He's not really done any track reports. It's just been weatherman Jake out there. Well, it's raining again. The rain coming a little harder now. Who stole the cookies in the press room?
Well, and I think he hosted an event yesterday.
He did.
How about that?
He had 1,100 people, he said.
Oh, that's big time.
Yeah.
I'd be a little nervous for that.
Yeah, Jimmy
one.
was manning the ship for a little bit.
I heard him. I saw him
Jake
up there.
Slid in there, and yeah.
No, I saw Jimmy Cook up there breaking down the Colts schedule. I want to say this, two quick things. We'll get back to the Pacers again coming up in about a half an hour. Dustin DePirac will join us from the Star early for a scribe such as he, who will have, I'm sure, a late night, so we'll talk with him. Now, Nathaniel, do you have this video queued up? Okay, so Jeff Darlington, if you're just waking up, I don't know how to report this. I hate to be the one to report this story to you. So the PGA is backed up 80 minutes. There was a terrible scene where a pedestrian was struck, and if everything I'm seeing is true, Mark, it was PGA volunteers that were on the bus. So a PGA bus struck a pedestrian outside of Valhalla where the PGA is being played in Louisville around 5 a.m. It has shut down the road, and Scotty Scheffler, who had about an 8:45 tee time, was going to turn into Valhalla. Again, there's all sorts of a police presence there. That is, for that area, if you haven't been to Valhalla, I can understand why. I'm trying to think of a good example around here. I mean, it's a big 3-lane road on each side, plus a turning lane. You're looking at 7 to 8 lanes of road. A very busy road, a lot of restaurants and gas stations and businesses. There's some malls that aren't too far away from all of this. So it's a very busy area anyway on the east side of Louisville that you have a situation. A pedestrian was struck, an hour and a half later, about 6:30, 6:20 or so. Scotty Scheffler was turning in and was told to stop by cops. Now, Jeff Darlington was there and saw the entire thing, and he had about a 90-second report. So instead of me talking about it, here's Jeff Darlington about 20 minutes ago on ESPN talking about what he saw and kind of the fallout of what happened with Scotty Scheffler once the police stopped his vehicle.
Entering Valhalla Golf Club this morning, we witnessed a car pull around us that was Scotty Scheffler was in the car. To be very clear about the details here, Scotty Scheffler has been detained by police officers, placed in the back of a police vehicle in handcuffs after he tried to pull around what he believed to be security, ended up being police officers. They told him to stop. When he didn't stop, the police officer attached himself to the vehicle. Scheffler then traveled another 10 yards before stopping the car. The police officer then grabbed at his arm, attempting to pull him out of the car before Scheffler eventually opened the door, at which point the police officer pulled Scheffler out of the car, pushed him up against the car, and immediately placed him in handcuffs. Scheffler was then walked over to the police car, placed in the back in handcuffs, very stunned about what was happening, looked toward me as he was in those handcuffs and said, "Please help me." He very clearly did not know what was happening in the situation. It moved very quickly, very rapidly, very aggressively. He was detained in that police vehicle for approximately 20 minutes. The police officers at that point did not understand that Scottie Scheffler was a golfer in the tournament, nor, of course, that he is the #1 player in the world.
I mean, Scottie Scheffler is not exactly the most charismatic guy, so I can't imagine him getting in like a war of words with the police. I can't believe he would have escalated the situation to the point where they're putting him in handcuffs.
He also looks like every golf guy ever.
Right. But so, I mean, that is just a wild detail.
It's
by
a wild scene.
Jeff
Now,
Darlington.
there was a report after that Scottie Scheffler was in a PGA issue. They give them all SUVs for the week if they want to take one. I think even like 10 years ago, I covered the PGA when it was at Valhalla, and Rory won in the dark, if you remember that, those scenes and everything. I want to say it was a Buick. It was a Buick SUV that they had. I'm trying to, 10 years ago, there's been a lot of IPAs and bourbon, a lot of Busch Lights, Mark, in those 10 years. So here's the thing that's killing me about this story. And I'm starting to see this now on Twitter. We haven't, this has been now since 6:30-ish, okay? 6:30-ish since this broke. I haven't seen anything in over 90 minutes on where is Scottie Scheffler. I mean, did they take him from the east end of Louisville downtown and book him? Like I'm asking now, there is a police station on the east end. Did they take him there? Is he going to play? Would he even be able to play? To post and be able to leave? I don't know the answer. Did he actually make it to jail? Would there be a conversation to where he would not go to jail? I would imagine that hasn't happened if he were on the grounds at Valhalla. And then there was also another report. I'm not sure if this was Darlington or not, but I did see it from ESPN. They flashed it up on the screen. I think it was Darlington, that other players did what Scheffler did and got on the grounds of Valhalla.
Yeah.
So what he was supposed to do, he has a special pass, he has the PGA car that you're supposed to, that those guys, not the normal, spectator or somebody trying to get on the grounds. You or I could not get onto the grounds, but the guys that are actually golfing in the tournament would be able to get on.
They said Louisville PD, maybe made the mistake of saying other golfers did it earlier, so then why did Scottie Scheffler get screamed at, cursed at, and arrested and brought to possibly jail?
Well, I mean, the reality too, Mark, is...
You saying Louisville PD has got some issues?
The reality is that, the last few years of living there have been, just not only the Breonna Taylor situation, but there have been a lot of, that is a very divisive issue. It's a very divisive issue in that city, and then you throw in another divisive issue on top of, the PGA Championship happening. There's going to be, I will say this, on Twitter, there's going to be some wild opinions and takes that are probably going to happen from this. So, again, we'll keep you abreast of this situation.
Yeah, we'll keep you posted.
I'm looking right now. I still don't see, Greeny's on TV talking right now, and I keep refreshing Twitter. I still don't see anything of where actually is Scottie Scheffler.
The last thing they said is
that's the question.
Yeah, just an officer in the video says right now he's going to jail. So it doesn't say anything after that. Now, they're hauling him away in cuffs. They're putting him in the back of a cop car, and that's the last we've seen of him so far.
I am trying to find it. I had a buddy send me what might be the mugshot of Scottie Scheffler, but I don't feel confident retweeting that.
Oh boy.
I need Jeff Darlington to tweet that right now. But here's what I've been sent.
What in the world?
Potentially could be. So I don't know if that's him or not. I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna wait to retweet on that. But again, I'm just waiting to see what's going on with Scottie Scheffler.
We'll keep you posted there. You had some Colts thoughts regarding the schedule, correct?
I feel like I did have some Colts
thoughts here.
But just quickly, I mean, obviously the big news is tonight, and me and Mark have talked about it. Pacers Knicks. I think it's going to be a great game. I think the Pacers are going to play well. I think the Knicks are going to throw the house at them. I mean, if you ask me, quick analysis, I expect the Pacers to show up. This is not going to be a game 4 or a game what would have been 5 situation, and for the Knicks, it's not going to be a game 4 situation. I think we're going to see what we saw in the first 2 games or game 3. I think we are going to see what made those games in those series pretty damn crazy.
It should be a wild first quarter is all I'm saying. I think both teams are going to go as hard as they possibly can in the first quarter.
Yeah, I would as well. Now, a couple things here. Yesterday we talked about it, and this is for people that don't know. I always got crushed in Louisville on having this kind of radio style, but I like to use people's actions and words against themselves to hold them accountable. Okay. And I don't think that's a hot take to do so. It's not even my opinion. It's their opinion, and I'm holding them to their opinion. And so when I saw yesterday or last night, what was it, 2 nights ago, that the Colts opened with the Texans, we didn't talk too much about it on the show. Yesterday was a general, the ending of the season, where's the bye week, the road games in the middle, the 4 out of the 5 on the road, and then you throw in the Miami Dolphins in the middle of that. And so the conversation was about 5 or 6 different things when a schedule comes out. And then you look at, other teams, you look at the AFC South, and you look at when you're going to be playing potentially weather games, and we talked with Matt Taylor about it. But I love the fact that they're opening with the Houston Texans, and here's why. This offseason was team run it back. We know that, right? I know.
Yes.
Now, I think A.D. Mitchell and I think Latu will contribute. Right, I think Latu will contribute right away. I think at some point, the offensive line last year had some injuries. An offensive line always has injuries, whether it's the Colts, the Jets, the Giants, the Bills, it doesn't matter, okay? And so I think, some of these offensive linemen could see the field at some point for the Colts, and I think some of the guys drafted on the back end defensively could see some snaps on special teams. Anthony Gold, who gets taken in the 5th round. I mean, that's a guy on kickoffs. They drafted him because of the new kickoff rule. So, it's not totally team running back because of the draft class, but whether
free agent wise,
the storyline for the Colts has been, we are going to bring back and we are going to reward our own. Fine, fair enough, okay? That's the decision that Chris Ballard made. Mark, when it's team run it back, what's the biggest advantage you have? In my opinion,
familiarity.
Boom. Yeah, right there. In my opinion, it's that. It's the fact that you don't need a few weeks to adjust. And because I'm in the NFL, we get it. How much do you guys actually, training camp can be fickle. Some guys,
preseason.
Some guys play a little bit more than others, and preseason football's a joke. I know Shane Steichen may not agree with that, but, for the fan, you will see, a quarter of Anthony Richardson. You may see a half in a game of Anthony Richardson, but you're not going to see very much. But for 99.9% of this team, it's team running back. That means I expect the Colts to hit the ground running as much as any team in the NFL. I mean, listen, Trevor Lawrence is breaking in new wide receivers for the most part in Jacksonville. Tennessee, they have a new coaching staff. They have a new way of looking at things. They brought in some new wide receivers and some weapons. Will Levis is going to need some time.
Boyd.
Yeah. Forgot about Tyler Boyd. It's a good one. And so not just the AFC South, but we all understand new coaches, coordinators flip, new quarterbacks, new weapons. The Colts don't have much of that at all. I think A.D. Mitchell is going to contribute, but game one, he might have one catch for 9 yards, okay? And so there's going to be, when your team run it back, I expect you, especially, Mark, on the defensive side of the ball, to be ahead of schedule than other teams in the league. And on top of it, to piggyback that, the reason I love it is, maybe we shouldn't use this terminology because of Scotty Scheffler, we're going to the scene of the crime.
Oh, boy.
Last year was heartbreaking the way that it ended. And the way that it ended, Mark, was the Texans win the South. You could have won the South.
Yep.
The Texans make the postseason. You could have made the postseason. The Texans then go into the postseason and beat the Browns. If the Colts are playing in that game, I think the Colts beat the Browns.
I mean, the Browns stinks.
I mean, if you remember, Joe Flacco just threw pick six after pick.
Yeah.
I mean, you remember he was great.
Terrible.
He was great. He was the reason they got to the postseason. He was a unmitigated disaster in that game.
You watch your mouth now. He's QB2 now.
I'm fine with Flacco. I think him being the backup is a great thing. I thought that was one of the best moves, probably the best move, quite frankly, free agent wise. Probably one of the only moves that we're going to praise by Chris Ballard.
I will say I can agree with you with the Houston Texans thought. You can get the Texans. I like that they're facing them in week 1. I know that sounds kind of crazy considering the Texans are like the darlings of the NFL offseason and whatnot. I feel like in week 1, you can get the Texans because it's the first week. Probably you're not going to see much of C.J. Stroud in the preseason. Probably not going to see much of Stephon Diggs in the preseason. So they're going to be getting acclimated in week 1. That's a very good time to try to, if you're going to get the Texans, you have the best chance of getting a win against the Texans, I think, in week 1 because they are going to be adjusting themselves to getting in rhythm and whatnot.
Yeah, you mentioned Stephon Diggs and everything else. I just love it because Ballard played it this way this offseason. I'm putting it on his roster construction. What did he tell us about the defensive backs? They're growing up.
Yep.
Or they've grown up. That this is a different crew that thus far, as we sit here on May 17th, 9 days away from the Indy 500, okay, that group is now different than what it was last year. A guy like Juju Brents is healthy, but not only that, guys have grown up. Julian Blackmon is back. We know he was out on that final week of the regular season against the Texans. And again, you never know what's going to happen with injuries. I mean, we get into training camp, guys go down. It happens all the time. But the thought is you're not going to have the attrition of the season like you mentioned. I mean, we can go back to the first meeting between the Texans and Colts last year. I love the fact that we get to put right to the test, okay? This is not the Colts opening with the Giants or the Titans or a team like the Vikings, some teams that I think, are non-playoff teams this year. They're opening with the team that took your stuff last year.
The team that is going to be the division favorite heading into every regular season. They're the darling.
Yeah. They're the AFC favorite. Mm-hmm. Their quarterback is the one that's getting all of the love in the offseason. And if you're the Colts, you had the chance last year. And if you're Chris Ballard and you feel like you have built this team that you wanted to bring back your own, that going out and signing prize free agents was not the route that you were going to go. That thought process and the chance to get back at the Texans is right in front of you on week 1. By the way,
I like it a lot.
As you were talking, here it is. There's the
that is official then?
There's the booking
so he is in jail.
and mugshot.
Does it say which
from
one
Scotty
he's at?
Scheffler.
Is he at the one downtown or the one on the east side?
I do not know. I'm gonna have to find that out, but I do not know that. But
so he has indeed been booked.
I can't believe
that
we
is wild.
was Scotty Scheffler.
I don't know.
Mugshot.
What a wild morning. Yeah. So Colts Texans, I like that in week 1. I think, like I said, I think that you can get while the getting's good against the Texans because they're going to be getting acclimated to themselves. Like I said, I don't think many of them are going to play in the preseason. They've got the Hall of Fame game that they've got like what 3, 4. I forget how many preseason games you have now if you have the Hall of Fame game 4, I think. So yeah, I don't think C.J. Stroud's going to get much action. I don't think Stephon Diggs is going to. So I can totally see them getting acclimated. And like you said, the Colts should be pissed out of the way last season ended. And if they can get the Texans at Lucas Oil Stadium to open the season, that crowd's going to be feverish. And Anthony Richardson's going to be returning to the field. Give them something to cheer about. Get a win. And get yourself feeling good as you head to Lambeau Field in week 2.
Quickly, Jeff Darlington, who was there at Valhalla for the PGA, reported it's still uncertain whether Scheffler will be able, after being detained by police, will be able, to make it to the course on time. A couple different golfers.
Is he going to show up in the orange prison uniform to tee off?
Cam Young and Will Zalatoris both left their vehicles. They're on the side. The road in Louisville is called Shelbyville Road that Valhalla is on. The Cam Young and Will Zalatoris, that they're walking to Valhalla on foot in the rain about a half mile because they are backed up. So just unreal scenes.
I don't think
again.
I don't think the PGA is going to be coming back to Louisville anytime soon.
I don't think that's the case.
I think that might put a little damper on things.
That's my thought on the Colts. I love the fact, I know people are saying, well, Andy, they never win week 1. Yeah, but, I mean, all this has got to, again, my point is, Chris Ballard believes that all of this has changed. If it has changed, we get to see it from the team that took all of your stuff last year. Their quarterback took all the shine. The Texans took from worst to first in the AFC South. They took the AFC South from you last year. They took the playoffs from you last year. They probably took, because how bad the Browns were, they probably took a playoff win from you last year. Boom, boom, boom. I'm giving you 5-6 things that they took from you.
Real quick,
and now you can take it from them. Go ahead.
Teams that made the playoffs last year that won't make it this year, you want to save that.
So quickly, since, I need to look this up. It's been the last 40 years, Mark, the last 34 years. Here it is. The last 34 years, at least 4 teams did not make the playoffs the following year after making the postseason. If you had to guess, now I'm going to guess that you're going to throw the Cleveland Browns in there.
Yes.
They're going to be a team.
Playoff teams that will not make it in 2024. I've got the Browns out. I've got the Bucks out. I've got the Rams out. And I've got the Steelers out.
Okay, now the Steelers, but they always are over 500.
I know.
So they could be 9-8 and still get in.
To get knocked out, yeah.
Who would be the fourth? Nathaniel, you think about it. You got one? Because I agree with the other ones. I think Tampa Bay's out.
Maybe the Dolphins.
Boy, you know what I want to do, but I'm going to be called a hater. We sure the Cowboys are a playoff team?
Yeah, I kind of thought about them too, but
or do they always just get in and then just embarrass themselves?
I mean, the Rams lost Aaron Donald, so that's why I threw them on there. I don't know if they're going to be able to keep up.
You would imagine the South, the NFC South would be better.
Yeah, the Falcons,
the Atlanta
are
Falcons,
going to be the favorites there.
Yeah, you would imagine they would be better. Although I'm not just ready, also and willing to put them in there with Kirk Cousins. Sorry, Raheem Morris wasn't a very good coach the first time around.
I threw the Steelers on there because obviously the Bengals were without Joe Burrow the majority of the season, so I expect them to fully rebound. I think the Ravens will probably win the division there, so they're going to be the third team in the AFC North.
You would imagine this,
and that's if the Browns take a step back again.
I think the Colts are fighting for a playoff spot and could get in.
Yes,
I think Cincinnati is a playoff team. Joe Burrow stays healthy.
Mm-hmm.
Joe Burrow, they're going to be in the postseason, and then your boy Aaron Rodgers.
Oh God,
what happens? I mean, it's serious. What happens if Aaron Rodgers plays a majority of the games? I mean, the Jets are going to be there at the end. They're going to be a team that we're going to talk about.
I mean, I did the crazy blog where you do the win-loss of the Colts schedule in May, and the picture I used of the Jets was Aaron Rodgers with his arms crossed on the sideline because it was the most action-packed photo I could find of him from 2024. So there you go. 4 teams that missed the playoffs that I think will make it. I have the Colts in. I have the Bears in. I have the Chargers with Jim Harbaugh in. And Joe Burrow returning with the Bengals. I have them in.
There you go. Yeah, I mean, the Bengals, remember who was the backup? Was it Browning from Washington? Remember, he was the backup quarterback?
Yeah, with the
smoking hot wife or girlfriend. Boy, Nathaniel, do you remember that? She was wearing the bodysuit for that game?
Yeah. I think everybody recalls that game.
Everyone was like, damn, Jake Browning's a baller. Dude, backup quarterbacks are living the life.
She looked like she was going to hit the slopes in Aspen with that outfit, but...
Yeah, it's not a very Cincinnati outfit.
No. Skyline Chili should have sponsored it.
It's not an outfit that you would see at Skyline Chili in Cincinnati.
But we're gonna get into more Pacers talk on the other side. Dustin Pirek is going to join us to preview Game 6 tonight. Before that, though, we've got to hit a morning check down.
The Morning Checkdown. On 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
All right, let's get to a Game 6 tonight. Coming up 8:30, our coverage here on The Fan. 8 o'clock, Pacers hosting the Knicks. The Pacers are favored, Mark, still by 6.5 in this game. So it's a big number, and Vegas, no doubt, believing in home court advantage when it comes to this series, and understandably so. Let's get to some sound. Rick Carlisle yesterday met with the media, and I thought this was a great quote from him because I buy it. You know, a lot of times you have a home game, you take it for granted. We're going to win. We're going to move on to Game 7, whatever it may be. Here's Carlisle, though. Even though it's at home, they still need to show up and ball out.
Most teams play better at home. That's it, but we don't assume anything. We're not just going to show up at home and have that guarantee us anything other than that we showed up. We showed up to the arena at Game 5, but we didn't really show up with any level of hard play or urgency. So, a lot's got to change there.
Yes, it does. If you're going to have your season stay going.
I like that.
I do too.
I mean, I think there are people that are stuck with it. We're coming home. We're going to win the game. Okay. Again, that's why I'm warning against. I think the Knicks are throwing everything at them. Me saying that, now it's going to end up like the Nuggets last night. It's going to end up, 104-80 or something like that. Let me give you one other piece of sound. Rebounding a disastrous effort on Tuesday night. Here's Miles Turner talking about that. It's got to be better tonight.
You have effort and you have extra effort. You know what I mean? I feel like it's not like we play with a lack of effort. I feel like they just had the extra. They were obviously more, motivated coming off of the game 4. And, we got to treat game 6 the same way.
Again, 6.5 is your over-under. Going to be a loony bin tonight. I expect people to be liquored up and to be having a good time. 8 o'clock, our coverage here on The Fan.
Tip off at 8:30, so late start. We do have a Game 7, though, at least one on Sunday. The Minnesota Timberwolves took care of business on their home court, 115-70 against the Denver Nuggets. You don't see 70 points scored in a playoff game very often. That was what happened last night. So they forced a Game 7. Anthony Edwards was fantastic. He had 27 points. Jaden McDaniels also 21 points as well. So Game 7 is now Sunday. I don't think they have a time set for that one yet, but they will be playing after a potential Game 7 if Pacers force one against the Knicks. That would be at 3:30, and then Timberwolves Nuggets would be after that. But we have at least one Game 7 on the Sunday schedule.
Quickly, Fever embarrassed last night. Not even worth mentioning. They were just bad all the way around. Clark was bad as well, 102-66. I mean, they were embarrassed last night. Quickly, Major League Baseball, Pirates 5-4 over the Cubs. Reds 7-2 over the Dodgers. What happened at the track at IMS yesterday? Go ahead, Nathaniel.
The fastest time of the day, brought to you by Reese Nichols Jewelers.
Patricio O'Ward at the top, 228.861 miles per hour, the best speed there. Scott McLaughlin and Alex Pillow round out your top 3 there. And we'll talk to Jake Query coming up at 9 o'clock. He will give us some track insight as he's over there for Fast Friday. And then to round out the show, we got Callum Ilott, who is announced for Arrow McLaren, and he will join us at 9:45 to give us some thoughts there.
Yeah, he's the 4th driver, and then you throw in Larson, who's under their umbrella for the race. So 5 drivers for Arrow McLaren coming up in 9 days. We'll take a break on the other end. How did the Pacers get the win tonight? What's his gut feeling? Dustin DePirek from the Star. He joins us next year on The Fan on this Friday.
The biggest party on dirt is back at Eldora Speed.
93.5, 107.5, The Fan. Andy Sweeney, Mark Dykton. Got Nathaniel Finch running the controls today. Dustin DePierac going to join us here in just a second. Again, reminder, the news of the morning, Scotty Scheffler detained and arrested and booked, mugshot and all, outside Valhalla there in Louisville for the PGA. Dial into, boy, I tell you what, we've talked a lot about this. There was a wreck this morning at about 5 a.m. where a pedestrian was struck and killed right around where Valhalla is in Louisville on Shelbyville Road at about 5 a.m. Scotty Scheffler, about what time, Mark? 6:30 or so, this started to come out. Was actually turning into Valhalla. I guess he wasn't supposed to. He is allowed to. Other golfers had that morning, turned into Valhalla. The police eventually stopped him. The reports were, I guess, police grabbed onto the car and kind of followed along. He then stopped. They immediately arrested him, and they booked him. So that's the unbelievable news this morning. And what's funny is last time me and Mark hosted together and Nathaniel was here, another story broke, like a crazy story nationally broke, but none of us can remember what it was.
Couldn't have been that crazy. I don't know what it was. Yeah, something happened.
But that was a long time ago. I mean, that was several months ago. So we're going to keep you updated. He has been released. So I don't know if Scheffler is going to continue to play. I don't know if he's going to be able to tee off. Everything was backed up about 80 minutes because of the wreck. So we will give you more information on that. Go ahead, Mark.
Twitter for these situations is always funny. Obviously, the fatality is not funny, but the Scotty Scheffler memes of him coming out of prison and hitting on the first tee with a teardrop tattoo, that's all out there.
The
and
memes
like
are
that.
out there.
It is a wild morning.
Yeah.
But we will turn to the Payless Liquors hotline right now, and we'll get some Pacers talk as Dustin DePierac of the Indianapolis Star joins us this morning. Dustin, have you been keeping up with the Scotty Scheffler stuff this morning? What are your thoughts on that, if you have any?
I just got up and saw this, so I'm like,
it's unbelievable.
This now, what? So again, most of what I know about it, I just heard from you and from Andy in the last 20 seconds.
It's unbelievable. If you look on Twitter, I mean, that's all this. I mean, this is going to be the story of the day, especially if he goes out there and plays. And I don't know if he plays well. He has been charged with a felony of assault of a police officer. So that is what he was booked for. His mugshot it's not centered well, but it is out there. If you want to see that, so that is all over Twitter. Yeah, it's unbelievable, Dustin. It's a bad situation all around, and we'll see when play finally resumes. My hunch, and I've said it here, Dustin, my hunch is we have a great game like we saw in games 1, 2, and 3. I don't think we get a blowout. I could be wrong. I think the Pacers show up. I think the Knicks are going to throw the kitchen sink at the Pacers to try to end this series and not have a Game 7, try to get a little bit of rest before the Eastern Conference Finals would begin on Tuesday. What is your hunch as we sit here at 8:30 in the morning? What is your hunch about tonight, 12 hours from now, what we'll see in Gamebridge?
Yeah, I mean, that's my read too. I don't see I don't see the Knicks having a Game 4, situation where they just don't look like they're into it. I mean, I think that had to do with just kind of a relatively quick turnaround. Those guys weren't in really good shape at that point. Physically, I think those guys were worn out for Game 4, and obviously they were just getting used to not having Anunoby. I think the Pacers look very energized after what happened in Game 5. I mean, not looking. We get to actually watch them yesterday, just to get a sense of the mood. Basically, when we talked to them after practice, I mean, everybody seemed just a little bit lit up and bothered by what happened in Game 5. So I think they'll be charged up, and I think the Knicks, obviously are going to know that. They're going to see that coming, and I think they're going to be a little bit more. I mean, they've had a couple of days to get right physically since game 5. On top of having won that game by a bunch. So I don't think you're going to see anybody at lowered strength for this one. So I think everybody goes all out. And the Pacers obviously will have, home crowd with them. They haven't lost at Gamebridge yet in the playoffs. They haven't lost since March 18th at home. So, I expect to see a really good basketball game, and I think there's a really good chance the Pacers force a Game 7.
Dustin, what is the reason that there's been such a stark difference from efforts during home games and road games with this team this season, especially in the playoffs?
I mean, they did win on the road against the Bucks. I think, it's just kind of been rhythm of the series, but I guess the bottom line is, young team. That could take a while to explain, and I don't like the idea of excusing it, but it still goes back to what you've seen from these guys all year is this level of inconsistency and occasional immaturity. I mean, you've seen them lose games they had no business losing, and they don't. just generally tend to stack 3 and 4 really good, performances on top of each other. And basically, what's interesting about this team, they were 47 and 35, so they tend to win right around 4 out of every 7 games they play. But in the middle of that, they tend to have some, not great performances and losses. And so that's just kind of who they've been all year is just a level of inconsistent. And they just tend to not, they don't necessarily do well with, success. I mean, they tend to win a couple and then just have a downgrade. I mean, I think, like I said, I mean, they had a good performance, I think, in game 2 against Milwaukee after losing game 1. They weren't terrible in the Garden in the first 2 games. They were just atrocious in game 5.
Oh, they could have won the games. They could have won game 1. Yeah, that would have changed everything. Had they won one of those games, I mean, the whole series is different.
Right. Yeah.
Sure, absolutely. I mean, they weren't trash in those games, but I mean, the Garden was a hard place to win, and the Knicks played really, really well. And just, I mean, the Knicks have been an inspired group throughout. I mean, I think it is. The idea of playing all those guys 40-plus minutes is a questionable decision in the long run, because some of these guys that are playing now with Anunoby out are like, that guy could have played. You could have used some minutes from him. Like, Alec Burks has had a pretty good series, and you're like, you buried that guy for what?
Yeah.
Like, you could have got 15 out of him on a given night and not played Jalen Brunson 43 minutes and not, played Anunoby to the point that he's shooting his hamstring, and maybe you'd be in better shape here. But I mean, they still, the guys who are on the floor played really well. But no, I think there's just been those kind of occasions. I mean, I think I asked that question. Rick Carlisle basically came into pregame and said, if we don't hit somebody and we don't rebound, we're going to lose.
Yeah.
So then I asked, okay, you just said that to us, so I imagine you said that to them. Like, what happened? What is not translating? He said, it is a team, like, this is the first time, they've been 2-2 on the road, basically, in a playoff series. And so, I mean, they had an advantage against Milwaukee. They had those guys on the brink of elimination in that game, and they didn't necessarily respond to that well. And so it's like every situation is new, and they're still responding to it differently. I mean, I get it. It's just strange to kind of even talk about the narrative, because you're like, okay, well, what's the difference? I mean, just go play hard. But I don't know. I mean, it is. I mean, the playoffs are a different scenario. These guys, different teams come out charged up, and you tend to see, kind of games go like this. I mean, look. I mean, the defending champs had a just absolute dud in Minnesota last night. Like, weird things happen in the playoffs. That's the kind of the best that I can come up with here.
Yeah, the Nuggets scored 70 points last night. It was like 1993 basketball. They scored 9 points in the fourth quarter. It's unbelievable. Dustin DePierac follows the Pacers for the Star. Of course, Pacers, Knicks tonight, Game 6, 8:30, our coverage on the Fan at 8 o'clock. We talked about this, and I don't have an answer for it. And, Dustin, I'm bringing it up to you, and I don't expect you to have an answer for it. But in the regular season, Tyrese Halliburton was as good, if not at times better on the road than he was at home. And the opposite has obviously been true in the postseason when he's had his, vanishing acts. It's been on the road. And then to piggyback that, I sure thought a player of his stature would have had at least one game, Dustin, in MSG where he was trash talking Spike Lee or the crowd or something like that, and it hasn't happened. Why do you think that's the case? And I guess on top of it, I would assume you think Halliburton plays pretty damn good tonight.
I mean, I would think so, yeah. I think he had, I'll point out, he had 34 in game 2, and, I mean, it still just wasn't enough. So, it wasn't like it wasn't like he was trash there. I mean, obviously, I think one pattern you're clearly seeing here is that he tends to, if you switch things up on him, it takes him to take a game to figure it out. And he does. I mean, obviously he's a super smart basketball player. I don't know if he just gets in his head when he sees things that are different, but I rewatched game 5, and obviously you have a couple days to do that. And what struck me about game 5 was that Miles McBride was really up in him. I mean, I think for you can obviously hit Halliburton for being, not aggressive enough, but McBride defended him 94 feet, and when Halliburton didn't have the ball, McBride was not concerned about one thing that was happening behind him. It was just stay with Halliburton. I mean, if Halliburton left the court, he would have followed him out. He would have followed him out the arena down to Penn Station and got on the subway with him. He was going wherever Tyrese Halliburton wanted to go. And so I do think Halliburton kind of does have to kind of get and really the Pacers in general, they'll have to get a better sense of what they're going to do there, because they've got to get him running around off the ball and get him some space that way. Because what was really happening was he was just passing off early in possessions, and it wasn't finding him back.
Right.
It wasn't like he passed up a whole lot of shots.
Right.
It was just like he gets across, he'd already been kind of defended for 50 feet, gets across the timeline, and, looking for guys to say, okay, somebody else has to be open here. Somebody else has to have some space. This guy's all over me, and they're going to try to blitz a ball screen. There's got to be another option here. Or he was just sort of say, like, all right, if this guy's going to, defend me 50 feet from the bucket, then I'm going to let us play 4-on-4 and trust somebody else to go score. And so, I think that's more what happened. It was less like passing stuff up. It was just like, all right, if this guy's going to be this much of a pest, someone else, should do the thing today. But, they're going to have to find other ways of getting him, free, and that's going to require just, off the ball action and a lot of that kind of stuff. And I think if they have a couple of days to really plan for that, they have a better opportunity of creating that kind of stuff. But that I think it's a combination of I think sometimes when he sees something new, it's like he kind of his initial thought I think is to say, okay, well, someone else. And it's not like I'm trying to play this off. It's more like point guard's job is to say, sometimes it's not for me to be the guy that scores 30 today. Sometimes it's somebody else's deal, and let's read the game and find out what it's giving us and go find that. And the other thing was other guys didn't take much of advantage. They missed some open shots, some makeable stuff, and I think that contributes to it. But also the other thing is that Rick Carlisle continues to point out is, it took 29 fewer shots.
It's unbelievable. That's an unbelievable number.
It's absurd. It's nuts. They were turning the ball over too much, and they're not getting rebounds. And it's just like when you've got that much of a degree of difference in possession, you have no chance. And you cannot win a game if you took 29 shots fewer than the other team. There's just no way.
Speaking of Rick Carlisle, by the way, Dustin Pirak, Indianapolis Star Pacers reporter, joining us on the Payless Liquors hotline. The vibe at Rick Carlisle's press conference yesterday was it was interesting. He was a lot of explicit language, and I'd be pushing the dump button multiple occasions if he was on live with us. More venting of frustrations, you think, or trying to motivate the team? What were your takeaways from what Rick Carlisle had to say yesterday?
Yeah, both. I think it was a very weird press availability to have. It's weird to call it a conference when you're all standing up. But it's just very, because it was just
press
what
gathering.
Was there to ask after Game 5? I just kind of, my question was basically all right, it's very clear what you guys did wrong. Are you getting a sense that everybody knows, what they screwed up? And he said, words are one thing, actions are another. They seem to get what happened, but I won't know until they really get it until Game 6. Until they actually play. And so we're just trying to just sort of drag any kind of answers out of him. And even I thought, the second F-bomb was dropped when Eric Name asked what I thought was a pretty good question about, again, what do you do? How much do you want Halliburton fighting in the aisles? What do you want that to look like when he's, basically being full court denied? And, Rick was like, well, F, get a rebound. It was okay, that's what the message is going to be today.
He's right, though. He's right, though.
Yeah,
every fan, Dustin, was saying that exact same thing.
Yep.
The other night.
Just get a rebound. Somebody block out Isaiah Hartenstein. Somebody block out the other guys. And I think, obviously, and Halliburton went so far as to do this. I watched him on offense and thought, wow, that's really more Miles McBride than it is Tyrese Halliburton. But I watched Halliburton on defense, and it was rough. It was
right.
It was noticeable, noticeably not good. He was just Miles McBride was bringing him into a lot of action with guard-to-guard screens, and you would see Halliburton on kind of a double with Brunson just look like a mess. Just not taking weird angles, leaving openings that he could drive through, not, rotating back if McBride kind of popped up, sort of popped out for a three. It just wasn't good stuff. And so, obviously he's missing box outs too. Everybody's missing box outs. And again, Hartenstein's doing whatever he wants. He had 12 offensive boards, which is nutty. And so, it just across the board, it had to be better. I think he was just trying to get that across, but also you have these days with Rick where you could just tell that there's not a single question that you can ask that he's going to be normal about.
Yeah, I remember. I remember after what was it, Game 2? Remember Obi Toppin went through the legs on the dunk. And they lost.
Yeah.
And me and KB, I was like, yeah, I think I want to ask him about it. I'm like, he might kill me. He might go through the phone and attack me about the Obi Top. And he mentioned Miles McBride. Dustin, that was one of the only things the Knicks could do, right? Was to go smaller, to bring him into the game. They're playing Josh Hart at power forward. So, there weren't many, given they don't have many players, setting the screen higher, setting those double screens, making Halliburton play more defense. I'm interested to see, A, if the Knicks do that tonight, and then obviously B, if they do it, when they do it, exactly how Halliburton and how the Pacers deal with that. We're up against it just quickly. if I made you, I'm going to give an over-under 1.5 technical fouls tonight in the game. You taking the over, or should that be a higher over-under? Should that be at 2.5? What do you think?
It should be a 2.5.
Okay.
I expect at least one dust up that produces double technicals.
Yeah.
Are we
I would
talking?
agree.
Are we talking a Game 7 on Sunday, Dustin?
I think so. I think so in part just because it's going to be massively inconvenient for me. Like I'm gonna have to be in New York tomorrow if that happens.
Sure, you are.
Like, that's just how it's gonna go. So I'm gonna say that's how it's gonna be because that's just how the series is going. But no, I mean, I just think they're gonna have a lot of fight in them, and I think again, I think it's been pretty well carried by Gainbridge crowds. I mean, it could go wrong, and you certainly saw that look from Brunson in Game 5. And if he can continue that, then there's a chance that the Knicks just put it away. But I guess bottom line, you're going to see a really good effort from the Pacers, and I think it might be enough to get them a win. You're not going to see them stack Game 5 style duds together. They tend not to do that as well. On one hand, they tend not to stack great performances together, and they don't stack bad performances together. That's the reason they don't go on long losing streaks or long winning streaks. So I'm going to say they turn it around, figure something out, get right in Game 6, and send it to the Garden.
Dustin, we appreciate the time. Thank you for joining us.
Appreciate it, Dustin.
I know you wish that the game was probably yesterday, so you go to Social Distortion and Bad Religion tonight.
There you go.
I really do wish. I send my regards to Greg Gafford and
there you go.
Mike Ness tonight. Rock out.
Yeah.
Their tour buses are outside our studio. So
okay,
yeah,
is that who it was?
Yes.
Okay, I was wondering who that was. Okay, well, Mark knew that. I went by. Appreciate it, Dustin.
Yes, thank you, Dustin.
Take
Appreciate
care.
the time.
Have a fun time covering tonight's game. I was wondering who that was.
He
by
really
the way,
wanted to go to that concert. I was like, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I like that.
Blame the NBA schedulers for that one.
Let's take a break. On the other side, what's the latest on Scotty Scheffler? We'll tell you that. Jake Query coming up in 10 minutes.
Everyone's talking about Galaxy concrete coatings and their trend.
And Andy.
All right, Mark, so we were wondering when our good friend Kevin Bowen would wake up there in Vegas and find out about the entire Scotty Scheffler debacle, what's going on at Valhalla. During the interview with Dustin DePirac, our sweet prince did wake up at about 5:35 local time there in Vegas. On his day off.
People are saying we should call him to get his thoughts. I was like,
I don't want to call him. It's his day off.
He is going to forward that call faster than Scotty Scheffler got arrested this
some
morning.
people would be fine with that. Other people are like, yo, why are you calling me on my, what do they call it, PTO time?
Yeah.
Is that what's personal time off? Is that what we call it around here? So there you go. Congratulations to the Bowens, by the way. A 5-year anniversary.
Yes. It's if you're wondering, it says waking up in Vegas hearing about Scotty Scheffler, and it's a gif from The Hangover of Ed Helms putting his glasses on in a drunken stupor.
And not having a tooth, if I'm not mistaken. So we'll get you updated on that. By the way, Jake Query going to join us here in about 5 minutes. I'll say this, as Jake is going to come on here in 5 minutes, I can't wait for next week. I love covering big events, and I've covered I've been to Super Bowls, to Final Fours, and covered championships, and I'm not bragging, Kentucky Derbies, obviously, and different teams and stuff like that. And I've been to IMS a bunch, been to some Brickyards, had not been and covered, obviously, an Indy 500. So being out there yesterday, hope to get out to qualifying on Sunday, at least Sunday, if not Saturday and Sunday. And then obviously a week from today, we'll be out there for Carb Day as well. The other thing is, you said in the YouTube chat, people wanted to know what my shirt said. So it's the Foo Fighters and Charles Barkley from Saturday Night Live.
Stand up, do a twirl.
It says Charles Barkley on it. That's what it says.
That is a very nice shirt. I like that a lot.
It's from
I don't think you've worn that one.
No,
before.
It's from a guy who sells shirts. The name is Meth Syndicate. If you want to look that up on Instagram.
Meth Syndicate?
Yes, he sells a bunch of just funny, quirky shirts where he throws like two pop culture things and throws them together basically on a shirt. So I have a couple different ones of his. So
I'll have to look for that.
I get nothing,
maybe not on a work computer.
I get not on a work computer, not on the Wi-Fi here at work, but I get nothing. I get no kickback for mentioning that. All right, so yesterday, obviously, we had practice, and then Fast Friday today, qualifying this weekend. We had 2 wrecks yesterday. What does that mean for those particular teams getting ready for qualifying, and what does Jake notice being out at the track all week? We'll get to him next. Jake Query, he joins us next here. It's The Fan on a Friday, 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
JMV from Moyer Fine Jewelry.
Back at it, 9 o'clock hour, one more hour to go. KB out today on the wake-up call. Andy Sweeney, Mark Dighton, Nathaniel Finch hanging out with you. Like I said, another hour to go. Greeny after us. Query and Company coming your way at noon. JMV at 3. And then it's all about tonight there in Gamebridge. Going to be fun. 8:30, our coverage here on The Fan beginning at 8 o'clock. Game 6, Pacers and Knicks right here on The Fan. All right, we're 9 days away from the Indianapolis 500. And like I said last segment, I just can't wait to, I say cover this event. Guys like Jake Query are covering this event much more than I, but just to be around the sights and the sounds of the people in a big event such as this is just going to be absolute fun. I was out the track a little bit yesterday. Hope to be out again this coming weekend. Qualifying, obviously, it's a Fast Friday today. And then next week, we'll have all the coverage leading up to Carb Day. We'll be out there on Carb Day as well. And to talk about that and much more, he used to be in this very seat. I see that he's logged into the computer. I always have to log him out sometimes. I'm kidding, Jake. When I come in here in the mornings, his name is Jake Query, and he joins us here on the Payless Liquors Hotline. Jake, thanks for joining us, man. How are you this morning?
I'm well, Andy. Thanks. Ready for, we'll see how much we get in today, right?
Yeah.
So it's been kind of a fractured week, and kind of assume, I haven't looked at the forecast yet for today. I know as of last night, that was supposed to rain overnight, and we'll see what happens today, but it should be interesting for sure.
What is the weather like, by the way? Because we don't have windows in the studio, as you know. So last I checked, it was foggy and drizzling. What is it like right now?
I just woke up, Mark.
Come on, Jake. Play radio a little bit.
Hang on a second.
Look out the window.
With Jake, no offense to you, when you started talking, I looked up at Mark, and he didn't see me, but I smiled because you sound like you just woke up.
Well, I know his schedule. I know he's probably just waking up. But he can also look out a window that we cannot. You've got a window
Hang
there.
on. I'm going to walk over here and look out the window.
He's got the shades drawn.
Give Boo a pet real quick.
2,000 square feet. I take a tram to the window. It is foggy, indeed. It looks somewhat dry.
Yeah.
Definitely overcast. It's kind of what it's supposed to be like for the most of the morning, I think.
Jake, I think it's going to be good. I think it's going to be low to mid 70s and some cloud coverage. And if you're going to go out there to the track, I think that's, I don't know. I mean, call me a hater. I think it's going to be fine weather. But I say that, and we know things can change. I got out there right when Linus Lundqvist was basically hitting the wall there in turn 2. And then we saw Marcus Ericsson hit the wall in turn 4. And I'm just wondering, it may be a stupid question. Tell me if it is. But, those particular crashes, now I know Ericsson's was way worse than Lundqvist. How will that affect them and their teams going into this weekend? A Fast Friday today, and obviously qualifying coming up on Saturday and Sunday. What's the scuttle around those two cars?
Not a dumb question at all, and you are correct. I mean, one had a much more severe, partially because of the time in which it happened, and then partially because of just the overall contact of the car. Ericsson's situation is far worse than Lundqvist, because Lundqvist, they determined that actually something broke on the rear, I think actually on the nose of the car, which caused the rear end to step out on him, and he made contact with the retaining wall on the inside of turn 2 and was okay. Ericsson was okay. I mean, both of them physically were good, which is the important thing. But Ericsson's car, they determined yesterday about an hour before the end of practice that they're going to have to go to a backup. They won't even get tried to put it together. So, if they get time to run today, Marcus Ericsson, you're talking about a guy that won the race 2 years ago, runner-up last year. So he knows his way around, but still, the cars just feel different. And Andy, every year, one of the things I think that is of intrigue about the Indy 500 is seemingly every year there is somebody who going into the event is thought to be, a third front runner that just weird stuff happens. The car just isn't set up right. There's an electrical issue. They just can't find the speed in it. I'm not saying that's going to be the case with Marcus Ericsson, but that's a big team, Andretti Global, and this throws a curveball into their day, right? Especially if the backup that they get set up to go out there is not up to speed right away, and then let's say, precipitation comes today and close the track, you're against the 8 ball then, and then you go out tomorrow and you get the boost from today, so that makes things feel different, and you go out in qualifying, and you just got to kind of cross your fingers and put it in the show, and then you use the week to start to change and fine-tune your car for race setup. So there's a lot. Marcus Ericsson's team for sure even though they're going to have a car, they're going to be a little bit behind where they want it to be.
That kind of goes with what my next question was going to be. What you've seen out there, are there drivers and teams that should be nervous, on the verge of possibly getting bumped this weekend? Who should we be keeping an eye on that? They better get going, otherwise they could have a very nervous weekend.
Well, what's weird is because of the weather, we kind of don't know. So here's what happens typically as you get closer to qualifying. As you get closer to qualifying, I've said this before. You have two cars. I mean, it's the same car, but you set your car up one of two ways. One of them is to be able to go fast when there are 32 other cars on the track, which means there's wind and all kinds of stuff flying around. So to do that, you give your car what's called more downforce to kind of keep it stuck to the track and make it harder to move around. And so that causes you a little bit of speed. Then you have your qualifying, we call trim, where you change the adjustments of the car to make it go super fast because you don't have anybody else on the track but you. So you can give yourself more freedom in how the car moves around since there's nobody else irritating the air around you. And so when you look at the speed charts right now and you look at somebody like a Stingray Robb or an Agustin Canapino or Catherine Legg or Noel Siegel, and you say, wow, they look really off. What you don't know is whether or not they haven't even attempted qualifying trim yet. Maybe those are the speeds they're turning. That is probably more mid-pack than it is bottom of the barrel because others have already started to do that qualifying speed. So if you are a driver, that's what you're hoping, right? As you're looking at it, you're going, gosh, I hope everybody else is just in qual trim, and that's why I'm so off pace. But it still gives you some sort of an indicator if you look at who hasn't had really good speed or whose teammates have struggled. And if you go with that, then I think Agustin Canapino is one that has to be a little bit worried because even though Grosjean has gotten up in like the 16, 17 range, I think that's probably when they were doing a qualifying simulation. So it looks like that team doesn't have a lot of overall speed right now. Now, I could be wrong in that, and we'll find out much better today because today, assuming they do run, everybody's going to be in qual trim. So that gives you a real idea. But I think the names I just mentioned, Stingray Robb, because Ferrucci has been talked about openly, his frustration and just missing a little bit of speed, and that's his teammate. And Robb yesterday was way off pace. So I think Stingray Robb, Agustin Canapino, Catherine Legg was in the same situation a year ago and got at the show, so she knows the situation. And Nolan Siegel theoretically is on a team that's got some speed in it. But those are those that I would start looking towards as the ones that probably are really going to have a pretty anxious next 36 hours.
Our guy Jake Query with us, of course, Query and Company coming up at noon here on the Fan IndyCar Radio Network as well. Busy man here, always, but definitely as we're 9 days out. Fast Friday today, qualifying Saturday and Sunday, and then, of course, next week is just going to be fun. Hectic for you, Jake, but I know it's going to be fun. I ask this. Let me do two things. Are you a non-toe speed guy or a toe speed guy? Which one do you put more, effort into? Which one do you look at has more value to you?
Okay, that's a great question. And I think that when you look at, like, the non-toe speed gives you a pretty good indication as to whose car is good,
right?
For sure. But here's the thing. Non-toe speed only tells you how good they might be in a qualifying setup. Like, you look at once the cars are all qualified, non-toe speed doesn't tell you a lot because during the course of the race, you're in a tow virtually all the time, unless you're out front, unless you're in the lead.
Right.
At that point, you got a fast car anyway, right? So I think that the tow speed is a pretty good indicator as to how your car is going to run on race day because you are working inside of a tow virtually the entire race, like I said, unless you're in the very front, there's nobody in front of you. And even then, you can get a tow because you come up on lap traffic. So just one gives you an indication how good the car is for qualifying. But once the cars are qualified and the field is set, it all goes out the window.
Okay, so then I asked as a follow-up, Mark kind of asked who would be worried, who has been good when you look at those non-toe speeds. And Scott McLaughlin, top two the last couple days? Is he having the best practice the last few weeks or the last few days, in your opinion?
I think Scott McLaughlin is, I had said, as a matter of fact, Andy, you were there when we were at the event for Oscar Robertson at the, during the NBA All-Star Weekend.
Yep.
And there was somebody there from one of the race teams. And I said, man, I'll be honest with you. I think Scott McLaughlin could have a really good year this year. I'm not going to say that's my pick to win the race in February or whatever, but because there's so much that can happen, right? But if you look at the team, I mean, New Garden Power, it almost feels like with that team that it's kind of his turn in the rotation. Now, Penske's had their controversies and things like that. We've talked about that, but doesn't seem to be hurting McLaughlin at all. Yes, to answer your question circuitously and long-winded, I think for sure McLaughlin's probably had the most consistent run of anybody that's been out there so far. He's the one. Dixon and Pillow, I mean, the Ganassis are going to be good, but there's been some question about the overall speed of the Honda. And then the other one that's pretty good is Pato O'Ward. So I think if you had to pick right now, Andy, the two teams, the Connecticut and Purdue of the tournament, the two teams that you look at it going into the tournament and you say, granted, anything can happen, but the two teams that we have seen the most consistently over the course of the year that are playing well going into the tournament, that you would expect to play well in the tournament, were Purdue and Connecticut. I think right now, based on if the season was just the days of practice here, McLaughlin and Pato are the two guys that have been the most consistently there up the front.
Well, for doing NCAA analogies, I need to know who the Duquesne of the cars are. Who's the
Duquesne? Why Duquesne?
Well, because they pulled an upset. They came out. They were an 11 seed and they beat BYU.
Well, who beat Kentucky? Who's the Oakland? That would be maybe a better one. Who's the Oakland?
The Oakland is undoubtedly okay. Good question, Amy. The Oakland of this year's tournament would probably be Castro Nevis,
okay,
Hunter Daly, or Ed Carpenter. The reason I say that is because they're the fan favorites, and anybody that beats anybody that beats Kentucky and Indiana, I don't know why it's Oklahoma. Anybody that beats Kentucky in the state of Indiana is automatically a fan favorite because Kentucky sucks.
Yep.
And everything about Kentucky sucks.
Well,
and everybody in Indiana knows it.
Look at the news story this morning.
Wait, hang on, Jake. Do you have any idea what's happened with Scotty Scheffler this morning? If you just woke up, do you have any idea?
Yes.
Okay.
And I will say this. I think that's probably a story where there are two stories there. The police officer probably should have recognized what was happening and who he was if, in fact, as it's been reported by Dave Fleming and others, that the players were told they could drive through the situation slowly, and his car was marked. So you understand why he probably was under the assumption. Also, my understanding is the police officer may have had a vest on and he didn't realize it was a cop. But the cop should have realized who it was, and Scheffler should have realized what was happening and stopped. I mean, so both can be wrong here, right? Both can be right.
Sure.
But back to the other thing, Duquesne, Mark, somebody that can make some noise. I'm not saying win the race,
right,
but I'll tell you a couple of guys that I think have been impressive, and they're on a smaller team. But the Cusick Motorsports Dreyer Reinbold cars of Connor Daly and Ryan Hunter-Reay have both been good. Now, I'm not saying podium finish top 3 good, but they've been, for a team that basically just rolled out cars and is out there running, and we thought we're going to be fast, two guys that know their way around. Could Daly and Hunter-Reay, or one of the two of them at least, be one to get up there and play in that front 5, front 7 in the first half of the race, and then see what happens with weirdness over the course of 200 laps? Absolutely. Those are two guys that are solid, and I mean this as no disrespect to their driving ability. I'm saying it for the team for the sake of the argument. They are two teams that are coming out of a non-Power 5 that are 28-4 and everybody's sexy pick on Selection Sunday.
I like it.
I like it.
A lot.
They're almost the Will Wade team, but the Will Wade team didn't win. I can't remember who he even coaches for now before he gets a big time job. Well, Jake, listen, man. I know you're busy. I know this time of year. I know you love it, but I also know you're extremely busy. So we appreciate you carving out a couple minutes, and I can't wait to see you at the track. Perhaps this weekend, definitely next week. And I love just kind of. Watching all the Indy 500 stuff.
Andy, why don't you come up in the perch with me on qualifying? I'll give you the full scoop. Come up with me for qualifying in the perch, but you got to climb heights.
Okay, I got no problem with that. Yeah. I'll be in contact. How does that sound?
Split an IPA.
There you go. Appreciate it, Jake. Take care, man. Thank you so much.
Guys.
Give Boo a pet for us.
All right, there we go. Jake Query, Query and Company coming your way at noon. It's funny. He mentioned, I didn't ask him this. I was going to, and the reason I didn't is because now there's more information on it. But when Lundqvist crashed in turn 2, after the race, it was, you say at that point, it looked like a self-inflicted wound. It looked like he messed up and he put the car into the wall. Okay, that's what it looked like. And, later in the day, I guess, as Jake said there's something wrong with the car, right?
Mhm.
But even in the interview after he wrecked, Linus came out and said, I knew that I could not, what I did, I knew not to do, basically. And he looked embarrassed. And the reason, and what I was going to ask Jake there, that's got to be, for those guys wrecking when you're not racing,
yeah,
that's got to be the height of embarrassment, I would imagine, for a guy like Linus Lundqvist, who crashes, and now, of course, Ericsson crashed later on, and now his was way worse. I think he had 4 different impacts, I think, during his wreck. And so they're going to go to a backup car. That's not the case with Lundqvist, but I got thinking, at least with Lundqvist, I got thinking, like, that's got to be, right? Caught with your pants down type moment. I mean, that's got to be an embarrassing moment for him.
And disheartening at the same time.
Yeah.
We're just like, what the hell was I doing?
Yeah.
Why did I do that?
So I can't wait for this weekend. And then obviously next weekend is just going to be, it's going to be a bleep show. And I mean that in a great way. I really do. Now,
are you going to join him up in the perch?
I got no
Do
problem
you have
with
a
that.
fear of heights? It's up there.
I don't have a fear of heights, but what do I have to climb? I guess that's my question.
You climb a ladder, my friend.
Oh boy,
you climb a ladder.
That scares me a little bit.
It is a small. You guys will be.
No.
You guys will be best friends. Let's just say it's a bit cozy up
All right,
there.
so let me ask you this. I mean, what kind of ladder? I mean, if I were to slip and fall, do I plummet to my death? Like, what am I looking at? I guess.
I mean, I guess it depends how far and what angle you fall. I don't think you'll die necessarily. This is
okay.
an odd conversation we're going down.
You won't die necessarily. Did you hear that, Nathaniel? I'm scared.
Do you get workers' comp?
You say, look out, and you just go.
Yeah, if I wear my press pass, do I get workers' comp? It's a great question.
I don't think
break
that,
my leg.
yeah.
Well, no, I'm not
We can put
scared.
a harness on you if you'd
there
like.
you go. Like, I'm not scared to go on like a roller coaster, or if you're flying, I don't think there's a big fear there being 33,000 feet in the air. But a free climb. You guys need to go if you've never done this. Like a decade ago, this video got real popular. Have you seen the engineers that climb radio towers?
Yes, my brother-in-law actually is one of those people.
No, he's not.
Yes, he is.
No, he's not.
Mhm.
Oh, I want to talk to him because
he lives in Utah. But yeah, he does like he climbs like the high wires.
Oh, yeah.
And all that. I mean,
Yeah.
it's
Okay, so-
he sends videos all the time. Like, dude,
it's
what are
scary.
you doing?
So, Nathaniel, I want you to do this after the show, okay? I want you to, and I'll send you a link or two. Google these guys who have to do something called a free. It's a free climb. Is that what your brother-in-law does? Where they're not strapped into anything. They have gloves on, but they are climbing up these ladders that go hundreds and hundreds and probably thousands of feet into the air to change like light bulbs and to do different things on communication towers and TV and radio towers. And they're up there, among the mountains, if you will. Your hands will sweat. I promise you. It is terrifying. But they get paid probably $30,000 every time they do one of these free climbs.
Yeah,
it's unbelievable.
He's climbing like electrical transmission towers. And he's just like, dang. I mean, he's got a harness on for some of these, but he sends them, and I'm just like, I get nervous just watching him.
I can't believe it.
He's on his phone sending videos.
I can't believe
it's like no
it.
big deal.
These
and you look down below,
crazy.
and it's just like nothing but ground, thousands of feet below him. I'm like, oh my God, no way.
Now, the other thing, before we get to a morning check down, I wanted to bring this up just for a minute. A couple weeks ago, KB threw at me, and this has now become, I guess, my calling card. And I did not know this was going to be my calling card, but apparently it's become my calling card. KB asked me, what do you think? What do you think the party situation will be like for Andy Sweeney on Carb Day? And I've never been to Carb Day, so I don't truly know the setup. And then, by the way, I'm not going to be there all day. I'm not going to be there at 9 o'clock at night when the gym blossoms are going to go on, okay? I'm not going to be probably there all day, given that we're going to be there at 5 a.m. and doing a radio show and everything else. But, I mentioned, I might have a couple IPAs. And then, maybe at some point it goes to bourbon or whatever. And, there'll be the Miller Coors out there, a little Coors Light, and a bunch
People
of
will
Miller
give
Lite.
you beers,
and
too.
you guys are horrified. And I talked to some of my buddies in Louisville, and I'm like, how do I break it to them that I am a professional in this game? But also, I've never been to the Indy 500, and so they number one, they don't know how Andy Sweeney gets down, truly, because I've been here and we're in a work setting, and I don't know how they get down for the Indy 500, and so we don't really know each other, and so this is going to be a big feeling out process, if you will, Mark Dykton. But I am now worried, now that KB's out, I got a little time here, I am now worried about you guys. If you think me having, an IPA or two in the morning is going to break my back.
I'm more
worried about you
of
guys.
The mixing the beers and the bourbon, which I like both, but I also know that
Just not together.
Carb day in the end of May could be 90 degrees, not including the blacktop you're going to be walking on.
It is hot out there.
So there's
no doubt about it.
You better be throwing in some waters in between those drinks.
John Tafford, it's called a Tafford tip.
I'd also have like some SPF 100 probably.
Oh, brother, look at my skin. Do you think you think I don't have sunscreen ready to roll,
You need
brother?
to have like one of those hats that has like
the bucket hat?
The bucket hat with like the little like dress on the back that covers the neck too. Maybe a cool towel here and there. But,
I've got the redneck joke a bunch whenever I get sunburned.
I would say get the.
I'll be ready.
Bring some beers, bring some bourbon if that's your thing, but bring some waters too. Make sure it's like beer, water, beer, water, beer, bourbon, water. Like something mix in some water here and there.
Here's the thing.
Otherwise, you'll be laying face down in one of the turns.
Yeah, see, here's the thing, Nathaniel. You'll need to know this as well. I'm going to be around. I would imagine it's going to be all people from the radio station. Like I would imagine big wigs. Influential salespeople.
Well,
I'm going to be social. I'm not going to be sloppy, but also, having a Coors Light and having a few of them is the social lubricant for what is going to happen at Carb Day. And so my point was, the reason I start out with an IPA or two is, I like the taste of them. And once you get by a beer or two that you like the taste of, then you can go into something that you're not caring totally about the taste. And then the other thing, it's not like I got to drink triple I. I'm not going to bring in a 9.5%, 10.5%
not
IPA.
drinking double stouts or anything.
I'm not going to do all of that. I'm just going to have something nice and light, maybe 4.5%. The IPA they're selling there at the track's 4.5%.
You could bring your cooler, bring some beers of your own if you'd like.
Oh, I did see the guy with his own cooler walking around just pulling them yesterday. I'm
our Carb Day stage will be out by the public, so the fans will be out and about. You'll be right about a bunch of vendors and all that stuff. The media center will be closed, so you can bring a cooler.
Yeah.
I'm sure some fans will, some listeners will share some beers with you, maybe a hot dog or two or something like that. We just want you to be safe.
No, thank you.
Safety is number one.
I'm sure everyone's worried about my safety. Now, I know JMV's talked about it. I mean, I'm seeing video and picture of JMV drinking that snake pit juice.
Oh, yeah. That'll get you, my friend.
I mean, JMV's with cargo shorts in his 40s doing that, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So I think I'll be fine. But no,
it's just the thought of the heat and then mixing drinks, which is what has us concerned.
Here's what you do. You get a little Ale 8. You throw in that Ale 8. You just throw a little pinch. A little of that Circle City Whiskey Company. You just throw a little bit of that in there. It's a nice, sweet drink. You can sip on that. Cocktail. I'm worried about you guys.
If you're offered a beer, make sure the cap is still on,
Make sure the cap's on. Yeah, this ain't my first rodeo on that. I'm not going to be fooled on that.
That's all we want your safety to be.
Safety first.
It's number one.
That's all that matters. So we'll have fun out there. Again, we'll be out there Carb Day.
I'll be out there after the show. I'll probably swing by.
Let me ask you guys this, and then we'll get to a morning check down. What is a trough and what is not a trough?
Trough is when there's more than one.
No, I know that, but which bathrooms are they all trough?
Oh, you want a map?
No, I'm just wondering because I know that's the historic thing is urinating next to another man.
Yeah,
in the media center, you're good.
Well, no, I know
out in the public.
So all the public ones are all troughs.
I mean, all of them that I've seen. Yeah.
Okay, well that's what I'm asking.
Yeah,
okay.
it's like Wrigley Field moved to Central Indiana. Yeah, the old.
Are you facing a wall or are you facing another man?
You're facing.
Another man.
Walls and other men.
So it's both. There's troughs that you're facing another man.
I mean,
and then one where you're facing the wall.
It could be an intimidating thing, but it also could be like,
Well, it is an intimidating thing. Not it can be. It is.
Just make sure the guy with the checkered flag thong isn't next to you because he is rolling around. He's out there somewhere.
I'm sure he is.
You make friends everywhere, Andy. That's all I'm saying. You can. How you doing, sir?
Because I did hear JMV saying, wait till he experiences the trough. And it's been a while since I've experienced a trough. I mean, I feel like it's been a decade. I'm trying to think of the last time. It might have been Wrigley Field, to be quite honest.
I mean, I saw a guy at a Cubs game one time with a trough where he set his beer on the trough, and then he obviously had a few, and proceeded to not hit the trough and hit his beer, and then he took the beer and walked off on his way. So
At least
do with that what you
at
will.
least it was his
so
own.
be careful. Again, in moderation. Make sure you don't get heat stroke. And just be careful out there.
And if you're offered a beer, make sure it's got the lid.
Make sure it's got the lid or the cap or
Somebody
has
asks
it been open.
Hey, you want a bag of this powdered stuff?
No,
thank you.
No.
Thank you, but no thank you.
We're not doing all that.
I'm just telling you, it's a
Goodness.
wild time out there.
I can imagine people are on all sorts of levels of wherever they
there are. No rules.
So it doesn't seem like there are, which is fine with me. Callum,
the law is a figment of your imagination.
Callum Ilott going to join us coming up in about 15 minutes. He'll be driving for Arrow McLaren. We'll talk with him. Before that, let's jump into a morning checkdown.
The Morning Checkdown. On 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
All right, Game 6 tonight, you guys already know. Pacers and Knicks there in Gamebridge. 8:30, the tip-off on ESPN. Our coverage here on The Fan beginning at 8 o'clock. Rick Carlisle meeting with the media yesterday. He knows, hey, young team, it's our first time at an elimination game.
Yeah, I mean, it's the first elimination game that we faced, so there's always a high level of urgency. But, you know, when you face the possibility of the ending of your season, it certainly should be at a fever pitch.
Yeah, I would imagine it's going to be a fever pitch as well. By the way, more breaking news from the Scotty Scheffler stuff. He has arrived at Valhalla. He has arrived as of like 2 minutes ago.
Is he in his regular clothes now?
I mean, so I would imagine that he's going to be out there playing. If he wins the event, that's unbelievable. Let me give you one more. Tyrese Halliburton needs to be aggressive. What does that mean to him?
Aggressive doesn't mean shoot 30 shots or whatever it is. Just getting 2 feet in the paint, be more aggressive. Kind of old school way of thinking. You know, at least that's what my high school coaches used to say. Like, get 2 feet in the paint all the time. So just kind of that mentality is better for us.
Yeah, 6.5. That's the spread tonight. Pacers favored again. Our coverage on The Fan at 8 o'clock.
Timberwolves push it to Game 7 in their series with the Nuggets. Destroyed Denver 115-70. So that series will move to Game 7 on Sunday. The Indiana Fever, not a great day for Caitlin Clark's home debut. That was an ugly one. They lost by 36 points. Caitlin Clark had 9 points, 7 rebounds, and 6 assists. They faced the New York Liberty again Sunday afternoon in New York.
Yeah, Liberty
Saturday,
are good
right?
too.
Saturday at 1?
Is it Saturday? I'm sorry. Yes.
I think it was Saturday. Do they go Saturday, Monday? Then
yeah,
they
Saturday, Monday. That's
they played
what it was.
Monday at noon, I think, against Connecticut.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken. So yeah, it wasn't good. It wasn't good last night for her.
Other quick things: the Pirates beat the Cubs 5-4. Paul Skeens on the mound for the Pirates. He'll make his second start of his MLB rookie season. That'll be later today. The Reds beat the Dodgers in LA 7-2 last night, and
it's unbelievable.
Had to be like 1 a.m. by the time that game ended locally. So Reds got a rare win on the road against the Dodgers. There you go. There. And of course, it's Fast Friday. But before that, we have to talk about the fastest track time yesterday.
The fastest time of the day, brought to you by Reese Nichols Jewelers.
Yeah, Pato O'Ward. Now, we talked about this with Jake. If you look at the non-tow results, Colton Herta had a great game. He had a great day. I mean, he did 224, 182. If you're looking at Pato O'Ward on the tow, obviously Scott McLaughlin. We talked about that. Alex Pillow as well. 228, 861 for Pato O'Ward, who I stayed around a little bit, watch him get interviewed nationally yesterday. A bunch of fans around him. He signed some autographs as well. So he'll be a name definitely to watch coming up here in the next 9 days. Let's get to a pop quiz. We'll do it next.
Freebie Friday.
Yeah, it's a freebie Friday. Plus, we still have the 2 tickets, right? The 2 reserve tickets
Indy
to the 500.
You get Indy 500 tickets and a Jiffy Lube oil change, regardless of how crappy
who's
you
got
do.
it better? I mean, we're going to have loaded phone lines for this. So 239-1070, load them up. Pop quiz coming up next on a Friday.
The biggest party on dirt is back at Eldora Speedway, July 7th.
85.
All right, pop quiz coming up here in just a second. God bless Nathaniel Finch, who worked overnights and now is doing this with us. I bring up the call screener to get the names, Mark, of the contestants, and we're gonna then pick somebody. And all the phone lines are ringing red. And I go, Nathaniel, you gotta answer the phone, my man. He goes, now? I go, yeah, now.
Yeah.
So give us a second. Just get their names, throw them up there, and we'll get you taken care of. By the way, the Scotty Scheffler saga, he arrived there in Valhalla 10, 15 minutes ago, Mark.
It's like a presidential motor coach.
Well, he was drove by Jimmy Kirkdorfer.
Kirkdorfer.
Yeah, listen, I don't know how to say his name. He's the owner of Valhalla.
Oh.
Now, they just changed ownership within the last year or two. My time is all messed up. Within the last 2 years or so, they changed ownership there at Valhalla. So old Jimmy, he's the one in the Escalade or whatever huge SUV that dropped him off to the front door. So again, if you haven't followed the Scotty Scheffler saga, it's been quite the saga.
It's been quite the morning for him.
It has been. Now, I don't know when he tees off. It's a little after 10. I believe he was at about 8:30, and then he was moved back 80 minutes at least. He was 8:40, then he was moved back. So he's right around 10 o'clock, a little after 10 o'clock. I doubt, not that it matters at this point, I doubt he's going to have any warm-up time. I mean, if he arrived at 9:30, I would imagine he changes, and I don't know if he hits a couple golf balls, and then it's, hey, you're the number one in the world. Get out there and do the damn thing.
It's nice that Louisville PD gave him some yard time this morning.
Yeah, they did not give.
Let him play some golf.
I mean, it's one of the more unbelievable stories in sports.
Back to the clink,
quite
with you,
frankly. Mark, go ahead. Give us a caller. What number do you want to go
I'm
with?
usually not on this end of it, so let's go caller 2.
Caller number 2. Who do we got, Nathaniel?
Jake.
Jake, good morning. How are you, man?
Hey, good morning. How are you guys?
Man, we're doing fantastic. Freebie Friday, so congratulations. You'll get the Indy 500 tickets and the oil change. So, Jake, who's got it better than you this morning? Come on, man.
Nobody.
Man, no one. It's a great day. Happy Friday.
Yeah, it's a good
You still have to answer our questions.
You still got to do the questions.
You have to play along.
Yeah, so we'll do that. Mark, I guess I'll go first.
Go ahead.
Hit the music, Nathaniel. Hit the music. Let's go. Number 1.
Have you studied?
Close enough.
Can you handle the pressure?
That just close. Just move that down. Yeah, don't worry about it. Let's go. Practice continues today at IMS. Teams prepare for tomorrow's first day of qualifications. Who won the poll for last year's Indy 500? I have 4 answers, but do you know who it was?
Was it Pelot?
It was. There you go.
Right
I knew he would know. That's why I didn't even have to read them.
All right.
Good job.
Jake, like this year, there were 34 entries for last year's 500. Name the driver who did not make the field in 2023. Was it Stingray Robb, Christian Lundgaard, Graham Rahal, or Jack Harvey?
Ooh. I'm going to say Stingray Robb.
Are you sure? I'll pull the Kevin card.
Yeah, we'll handhold on number 2. Not that it matters. You've already won all the prizes anyway.
What were the answers again?
Stingray Robb, Christian Lundgaard, Graham Rahal, or Jack Harvey?
Jack Harvey.
Now, Jack Harvey was actually last racer in, was he not, Scotty? That's what I thought. Question number 3. Since the inception of the Indy 500 Rookie of the Year award in 1952, 3 drivers have won Indy 500 Rookie of the Year honors and a NASCAR Cup Series championship in their career. Kyle Larson is attempting to become the 4th. Which of the following did not win both? Jimmy Johnson, Tony Stewart, Kurt Busch, Donnie Allison.
I know Jimmy Johnson won. I'm going to say Allison.
Ooh. All right, Jake. Game 6 of Pacers-Knicks is tonight. Who holds the record for most points scored in a Pacers-Knicks playoff game? Reggie Miller, Carmelo Anthony, Jalen Brunson, or Rick Smits?
I'm going to say Brunson, unless Reggie had more than 44.
So where are you going?
I'm going Brunson.
Doing pretty good. Question number 5. 149 years ago, the first Kentucky Derby took place at Churchill Downs in Louisville. Name the horse that won the inaugural Kentucky Derby May 17th, 1875. And I'm going to mispronounce every single one of these. Was it Baden-Baden, Aristides, Vagrant, or Daystar?
I'm going to say C.
You're going to go with Vagrant?
I'm going with the Scantron guess. I'm just taking C.
That's a good guess.
That's a good one.
Because anybody, any question that starts with 1875, I would go Scantron.
It's not going to be easy. Well, Jake, Jake, hang tight with us, okay? So we'll get your information. He did pretty good. He got number 1, Pelot winning last year. Did he get number 2 right? Did he go Ray Hall?
He said
Stingray.
He said Stingray Rob, and he said Jack Harvey. The correct answer was Graham Ray Hall. Did not make the field last year.
So he got that question number 3.
Wrong.
Oh, I thought he was going to keep going. Donnie Allison, your answer to number 3. He got number 4 right. Jalen Brunson. Aristides actually was the first winner all the way back in 1875 when they had the Derby in the middle of the month instead of the first week in May. All right, let's take
there's dysentery going around.
Is that what was going on in 1875? Yeah. Callum Ilott, he'll join us next. He'll be the Indy 500, and he'll join us on the other side as we wrap up the show on this Friday, 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
Find what you love, love what
Reminder, Pacers tonight. We'll end the show giving our final Pacers Knicks thoughts. Our coverage on the Fan at 8 o'clock. Fast Friday at the track. Obviously, we'll be out there a week from today, Carb Day. We'll be out there. That will be a lot of fun. You have Jake and Jimmy coming your way. They'll be live out there at IMS coming up at noon. JMV at 3 o'clock. So we're excited about that, and we're excited about our next guest, Callum Ilott. He is going to be in his third Indy 500. He found that out a couple days ago, and he's nice enough to join us here in the 9 o'clock hour on the Payless Liquors Hotline. Callum, good morning, man. How are you?
Good morning. I'm good. I'm great, actually. Even though it rained a bit last night, it's a good day.
I think it's rained every day in Indy, it feels like, for the last week, Callum. So
I think that since I arrived, so my Britishness does not help you guys, I think.
No, it doesn't. There's no doubt about that. Well, I mean, this is a generic question. I'm sure you've got this a lot in the last few days, but when it comes out, you're going to be in your third Indy 500, Arrow McLaren. What's the level of excitement and anticipation as now you knew you were going to have a chance here to qualify and be in the field, and with all these other great drivers? What was that excitement like for you?
It's great. I came off of a win in my World Endurance Championship race last weekend in Belgium, flew straight over, joined the Arrow McLaren team, and we hit the ground running and just got faster and faster each day. Today's Fast Friday, and where we get the car in quali prep mode, and we go for it, see what we can do.
Now, I know you've been, obviously you mentioned being with Arrow McLaren, so, already having some races this season in IndyCar. Is there a cohesion there? Like, there's not much adjusting to get used to? You feel pretty much at home with everybody, at home with everyone on your team?
Yeah, so the team is everyone I worked with earlier on in the year for two weekends, and following that, coming back to them, they're all the same people and work really well together. The seat is the same, the car's the same, and it's super easy.
Callum, some drivers say, drivers and teams will say this is the most important time of the year for them, and it can make or break their seasons. What is your mindset heading into this time of year at the Indianapolis 500?
A bit of patience, because it's a long couple of weeks, and you've got to get the car into the right window. But once we start getting into the quali side of things, you've really got to nail it. You've got to be so precise with the car setup, so precise with your driving. Obviously, we saw 2 accidents yesterday. It can be such a fine line between right and wrong. And then, once we get into Monday and carb day, that's where you're tuning that race car, and you've got to get it right in traffic. And that's crucial to understand the best concept you can get from the car to follow other cars.
Callum Ilott with us here on the Payless Liquors Hotline. You'll see him this weekend if you go out to the track qualifying. Arrow McLaren, cannot wait to see exactly what you can do. You mentioned being patient, and that has been, whether it's analysts we've had on, co-workers here that have followed this event for years, for decades, or other drivers that we've had on, Callum. It's been a lot of, hey, you got to be patient, not only in the race, in qualifying, but the week and weeks leading up to the event. Are you inherently a patient person? And if not, how do you gain that patience? Because I know in my own life, I've had issues with that and other things.
That's a great question that I probably don't know the answer to. But I am a little bit patient, but at 240 miles an hour, it's tough to hold back. Sometimes you need to go for that move. But you have to make a split-second decision, and that's what we're paid to do.
How have you felt about your vehicle so far, and where are the things you like the most and things you want to see improve before you get to qualifications?
Yesterday, we took a big step up in the number 6 NTT day to our McLaren Chevrolet, so it was a lot better in the traffic running, and I got really comfortable on that side. We only got one small quali run in before the rain came, so I would like to spend a bit more time on the quali car, but I was very happy with the baseline that we had. So I think we're on for a good couple of days.
Cal, we've had, 6, 7 drivers on, and we'll have more next week. And a lot of them as well have talked about, even some of the younger guys, I know you're on the younger side, have talked so much about every time they're in an Indy 500, they learn something else, or when they're qualifying or in these practice sessions, that they learn something else, whether it be about the track, how to handle the track, and obviously you're always learning about your car. This is your third time around here. How much more of a veteran do you feel like? And do you feel like you've learned about everything you could about the track? Or when you go out there today, is there something you may learn, do you think?
Yeah, you're definitely learning something new every time. Also, when you change environments like the teams, or even going from car to car, you do just get a different sense of what you need or what you expect from a car. So for me, coming into my third one, it's different. And Aaron McLaren have done a great job to teach me the things that maybe I didn't quite know. And sometimes it's hard as a driver, as a person, to find out the things you don't know. So it's going well so far, and we were 12th yesterday. I think we can move up quite a bit today.
Callum, where does Fast Friday rank for you on the outside of the event of itself, of the race of the 500? Where does Fast Friday rank, along with whether it's Carb Day, Quals, Pole Day? Where does Fast Friday rank for you, and how does that make you feel?
I would say it's kind of the second or third most important day, because this is where you get all that confidence into qualifying, and I'd say sometimes it's even more important because you can build up and up and up, but the moment you go over the boundaries of what the car's capable of, it's catastrophic. So you've got to be patient, but you don't get so many runs to kind of get it. Today we turned the boost up on the engines. We're going about 15% or 15% more power, so 10 mile an hour more. The car changes, the behavior changes, and it's just such a different feeling compared to the other days.
Well, Callum, we appreciate it, man. Thank you for joining us this morning. I know it's been a busy few days for you. You find out you're going to be in the 500, and that's awesome. Qualifying this weekend, Fast Friday today. We'll be looking out for you. We'll be rooting for you and appreciate it. We'll talk down the road. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
All right, there we go. Callum Ilott with us here on the Payless Liquors hotline. I wanted to leave a few minutes for Pacers Knicks. The only thing I keep thinking is that guy's got to be crushing it with that accent in Indianapolis. He's got to be crushing it, right?
You
wish you sounded like that. I wish you sounded like that.
You wish I did? I'm sure Ashley thinks I wish I did too.
That's what I was thinking. What do you think?
She basically wishes I was just Chris Hemsworth.
Yeah, basically. Oh, Chris Hemsworth?
Yeah.
Okay. What was he, Thor? Was that what he was? Was he Thor? I hate saying this. I don't want to be the bad guy. I think the Knicks win a close one tonight. Again,
man, what a bummer you are heading into the weekend.
I think that it's a great game. I think it's a game like 1, 2, and 3. I think we have a close game. I think the Pacers absolutely come to play. I think the Knicks throw everything at them. I think we have 3-4 technicals in this game. I sure as hell hope the Pacers win. I hope they get to a game 7 on Sunday. I hope they ball out on Sunday so we can come in here Monday and be as happy as we've been with the Eastern Conference Finals being the Pacers and Celtics on Tuesday. I think it's going to be a great atmosphere. I can't wait for tonight. It's a young team. I understand that with the Pacers. There's a lot riding on tonight. I'm super interested on how it looks, but I've told you all morning, I think both teams are going to play well. I think this series has been a fun series, and I think the standalone game tonight in the NBA is this one, and I think people are going to get their money's worth.
That was a great pump-up speech just to sweep the leg and say, I think the Pacers lose tonight.
Listen, come on, let's go.
I'm going to take the Pacers winning tonight. We go to Game 7 on Sunday afternoon, and I don't know what to expect in Game 7. We're going to be talking about it one way or the other on Monday morning, but Pacers get it done today. We're talking Game 7 on Monday. Hopefully it's a Pacers win as well. And we're previewing a Eastern Conference Finals series. We'll see. Real quick before we go, my daughter Emma drew this for me.
Oh,
I'm
nice.
holding it up for her. Emma, love you.
Well, hold it up again for the YouTube.
She drew a nice rainbow for me before I went to work.
How old is Emma?
She is going to be 5 on June 10th. She told me to hold it up, and she would talk to me on the television. So, Emma, love you. Nora, love you. Ashley, love you. Addie, you're at school. You're not watching.
Look at all these shout-outs, Nathaniel.
I know.
Nathaniel, do you want to give a shout-out to anyone on the way? By the way, do you have a pick for tonight? You got anything?
Let's go Pacers.
Let's
go Pacers.
Nathaniel.
All right, well, there
I'll
we
be
go.
there. Let's go Pacers.
Not a hater.
I love.
You're mad about that Giants uniform they threw
Oh
out.
my God, how bad was that? Just all these throwback. There's a reason in 1930 they left it in anything that was in the black and white times can stay in the black and white times.
That's why it didn't look so ugly back then.
It didn't look so ugly back in the 40s or whatever it was. So. Everyone have a good weekend. Again, Pacers and Knicks tonight. Our coverage here on The Fan at 8 o'clock. You have Jake and Jimmy. They'll be out in IMS coming your way at noon. JMV at 3 o'clock. Have a good night. Have a good weekend. Back at it Monday morning, 7 a.m.
New York wins it. Tonight's final in Game 5.